What's up, metalheads? This is Pooch from Raped Ape and Altered State Tattoo in Boynton Beach, Florida. See you at the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, episode number 41. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, dude?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Doing good, man. How you doing? Everything over in Tampa going well?
It is, man. As good as can be expected, except it's getting hot.
Get ready. It's going to get to become hell. You know how it goes in Florida. But yeah, we actually have a guest with us tonight. So I'm gonna mention actually really fast a list of some demos that came out, and it's gonna be kind of related to our guest tonight. So I'm gonna mention a few, Ed, here. Brutality put out two demos this year in '88. Nasty Savage put out Abstract Reality, that the EP that same year. Death Leprosy, Iron Cross, You Could Die Like That. Crimson Glory was putting out stuff. Nocturnus, Ass Suck, Atheist. And actually, the guest we have tonight actually put out their first demo that year. We are joined tonight by Mike Pucciarelli from Raped Ape, and that year they put out In Ape We Trust. What's up, Mike? Thank you for joining us on the Tampa Morgue.
How's it going, guys?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just here at home. I found a bottle of Plantation Original Dark Rum, and I'm sipping it on the rocks.
There you go.
I'm a rum guy.
Rum. And we actually opened up the show with the song "Seen Not Heard," which was that. So that was on. I know it's on the 30th anniversary reissue of Terminal Reality, which we're going to talk about tonight, the EP. But so that song that's basically like that's new for that, right? That's the actual unreleased track that you guys put on that,
right? Yeah, we recorded it, with Scott Burns at Morrisound. That was '92, I believe, and we were working on it, and we kind of I think I was unhappy with my vocals or something, and we were kind of Scott Burns was like, well, you know what, guys, I think it's really not one of the strongest songs. Let's go ahead. If you're cool with it, let's shelve it. Let's just work on getting the mix of everything else done. And we said, okay, yeah, you're Scott Burns. Of course we're going to listen to you, And that's the way we were. We were very open-minded to listening to people that knew what they were doing in those days. And he was definitely one of those guys that we respected big time. So we said, okay, cool. And there were some things about it, even when I listen to it now, that I don't love. But you know what? Listening to it now after all those years, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad it's finally seen the light of day and people can check it out,
I think it's definitely a killer track. And
Thanks.
So we'll start out. Yeah, we're going to start out with basically a little bit about you first before we get into we're going to talk about the whole Raped Ape and the history of the band and stuff. But so you were born in West Palm Beach?
West Palm Beach, yep, in '69. Yep.
69. What's up? It's not even musically, but what are some memories you have growing up in West Palm Beach? Like we grew up, me and Ed are Jersey guys, so we always have those Jersey Shore memories and stuff. Like, what would be something for you?
Well, I mean, being down in West Palm Beach and everything, there wasn't a lot of music stuff going on, but I was always drawn to Kiss. That was probably the first thing I got into. So for me, Gene Simmons and the look and the album covers, like Destroyer, that kind of tied in with other stuff I was into, like Conan and Frazetta's art. I've always been into art, visual stuff.
Yeah, it was Ken Kelly doing those covers too for the.
Yeah. Ken Kelly did a bunch of that stuff for Frank Frazetta, and I was just really into all that stuff. So Kiss had that look too, and it just kind of resonated with me, And I think actually writing down some notes for this show about those days helped me to realize that, man, there's a real connection with that Kiss Destroyer cover and Frazetta's art and Conan, and why I'm always drawn to the darkest, just metal stuff. I think that's a big part of it.
And growing up, you were a big Ray fan, right? Harryhausen.
Yeah, I was into Harryhausen, Monsters, King Kong, anything that was monster related. I loved all that stuff. And I actually did Clash of the Titans, all the Sinbad movies, and years later I did a painting in honor of Harryhausen, and it's kind of cool. What happened was my buddy Tony, who was in a punk band here called the Roids, he works in Seattle at I don't know if you guys have heard of the EMP, the Experience Music Project in Seattle. It was like a music museum. It's called something else now, but anyway, he worked there, and he said, "Hey, man, let's get some of your prints in this museum." So I ended up sending him a big canvas print. It was 30 by 40 inches of the Harryhausen painting, and he came there, saw it, and his manager set up a phone call with me. I got to talk to Ray Harryhausen on the phone, and he told me how much he loved it, and I basically set it up where I sent him a print, to him. So that was
awesome.
One of those awesome things that, as a child, I was obsessed with, and doing the painting, and it just kind of opened the door to actually being able to talk to one of my heroes.
And you mentioned Harryhausen. You know, I want to say the first monster he did was the Cyclops from Sinbad, but
Yeah.
you know, with him, he was inspired, I believe, by King Kong. I think his dad actually took him to the theater when he was a kid, and that's pretty much
Yep.
started him out.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think he met the guy who did all the stop motion, which I think was Willis O'Brien was the guy's name, and he ended up working on Mighty Joe Young with him. He got a job with him, and that I believe might have been one of the first things he did. But he did a bunch of stuff for TV, like a bunch of children's stuff, like nursery rhymes, different Hansel and Gretel stuff like that. Yeah, I'm obsessed with so many things. I always look into the past of where everything comes from, and that was one of the things I've always been into. And he's got a great documentary too. If anybody wants to see it, you'll find out more about him through that. So,
were you also into like the old? I figured we're all about the same ages, give or take a few years. Were you also into the old Saturday morning cartoons and stuff? Like you had, I know you're big into the art, like the Groovy Ghoulies or the Super Friends, or
Yep,
Barbarian.
Super Friends definitely. Yeah, I used to watch that all the time. All the Looney Tunes stuff, Land of the Lost, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, all kids what young kids aren't in dinosaurs, So yeah.
Exactly. And you mentioned with that. So did you come from a musical background at all? Like your family, was anybody into the music thing, or was that just pretty much?
No, but my parents had an acoustic guitar, and I used to just kind of play with it. When I was a kid, I didn't play it, but I think maybe just seeing it around and having it around, that could have been something that sparked my interest, I guess.
Do you remember the first record that you actually owned? Was it a Kiss record?
Well, let me see. Okay, so technically the first vinyl record that I got was, I believe, let me try to think. It might have been Fair Warning or Boston. But I had Kiss 8-tracks.
Yeah. We talk about those on this show.
So probably the first like actual, music I got, or my parents would have got from me, was probably a Kiss 8-track, like Destroyer, I would say probably was one of the first ones. Yeah.
And do you remember the first show you actually attended?
The first show I ever went to, by the point I was 13 years old, and I was listening to all kinds of Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and how they were talking about blues, and I saw B.B. King was coming to town, and I asked my dad if he would take me and my buddy Manny, because we were both learning to play guitar. We had electric guitars. Because Page and Hendrix were like, oh, blues. Oh, I got to see a blues guy. That was my first concert with B.B. King. Yep.
Okay. And you first started actually jamming on guitar, or did you start actually would you say actually starting to like try to learn, or were you self-taught and all that?
Yeah, self-taught. Yep. I think the first stuff I learned on the acoustic, the first thing I tried to learn was Cocaine by Eric Clapton, but I was playing it wrong. I was just down now. So simple notes, I was like, oh, I can kind of do this. And then I heard Iron Man, and I was like, I got to figure that out. And I started learning that just one note at a time with one finger, and picking with my fingernail, And then I was like, oh, I could get a pick. Oh, that'll make things easier. But Sabbath was definitely one of the ones that once I learned Iron Man, I was like, I got to learn more of this stuff, because I can actually play it on one note. And then I learned a power chord. Somebody showed me a power chord. They were like, what are you doing? You got to play the other note too. I was like, oh, okay. So a friend showed me that, and that's how I figured that out.
And in school, was like the whole in South Florida, was the scene starting to happen? Like all the kids were starting to get into the heavy metal music and stuff. Like,
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It was, yeah. I mean, I think the power chord thing I learned where he was showing me a Def Leppard song like from Pyromania. Yeah, I mean, there was so much going on music-wise. I mean, I remember like getting the first Motley Crue. A guy brought it in to school. It was vinyl, Too Fast for Love, and we're like, "What is this?" Like I'm in Catholic school, like from kindergarten to 8th grade. And I remember listening to it, going, "Is that a girl singing? That voice just sounds like a girl," But I loved it. The guitar, Mick Mars, and their look and stuff. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." But yeah, I mean, like I say, it started with Kiss. And it just started, like Ted Nugent was another one. He was really huge. We were all into that. Ozzy. I think I heard Ozzy like before I heard Sabbath, actually. And then and Dio, like I was listening to Mob Rules, Dio, maybe a little bit before I actually listened to the Ozzy Sabbath, I think.
Okay,
and I love Dio. I mean, God, that was his voice, and Brian Johnson and him to me were like this voice, like what this really scratchy. Dio was pretty heavy voice for that time, you know. And I remember calling up WSHE was a radio station that was here, and they'd have like a request hour, and I called up and I was like, "Yeah, I want to hear the Mob Rules Black Sabbath." The guy's like, "Oh, you like that mellow music?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, I'm just joking, man." I was like this serious kid, you know, and like didn't learn sarcasm yet, but they never played it, man. I waited all day and I was so mad. I was like, they never played it. But they wouldn't play that on that radio station. It was classic rock. It was like, you know, Bad Company and maybe Zeppelin was the heaviest you would hear.
I tell you, that's when you feel old now, is when you hear what classic rock is and they're playing like some of the bands and you're like, holy shit, that's classic rock. And it's like, you know,
they're playing Metallica on classic rock.
Right.
So come on. Yeah, I mean,
that's where we are
on
now.
Facebook was like, what's name a classic rock? What's classic rock to you? And I was like, Slayer. It's classic rock.
Exactly. That's where we are now. Yeah. And your first band, was that, so was Raped Ape your first band actually? Because I know your credit, there was a band Burner you played with.
That was later. The first band I was in was called Infinity, and it was like in high school, and we did covers. That we did like Journey, Huey Lewis. The heaviest song we did was like maybe Motley Crue, you know, like Smoking in the Boys' Room. That there wasn't a lot of guitar. There's a lot of keyboard, and that was just dudes I knew in the neighborhood, like next door. And I would go over and they'd show me some stuff. But you know what? I learned a lot from them dudes, because they played keyboard and they showed me a lot of really interesting stuff. Like that really helped me on guitar. You know, and it was pretty cool. We played school auditorium, you know, in high school, and had like my parents there and my, you know, grandparents and my aunt and uncle and everything, you know, and was on the news. It got the news was there, and they showed me playing. And I'll have to send you a picture. I had my grandma make me these like dark red spandex pants, because like I saw Bruce Dickinson and Maiden. They had like spandex. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. I'll wear something like that. And I had like bandanas tied around my ankles and a bandana on my head. and they showed me playing, and it was on the news, and it said the next Tom Petty, because he's from Florida. And I was like, what? Tom Petty? I'm like, no way, man. I was really into like at that time we did Jump. I was really into Eddie Van Halen. When I heard him, man, forget it. I was done. I was like, that's one of the reasons I think I started playing when I got the electric.
He ruled the world for a while. I think a lot of people, you know, the younger people that weren't even around, like we talk about, which I'm sure you actually watched, like the Headbangers Ball back in the day, and even way before that, like Eddie Van Halen was like the poster child for MTV in a lot of ways. Like he was the guy.
When I first heard like, you know, Eruption and like You Really Got Me, like the beginning of You Really Got Me, I thought was a bass. And I'm telling my buddies in school, you know, I was like, I'm going to get a bass, because I want to make that sound, that distorted sound. They're like, that's the guitar, man. They're like, that's not the bass. And I'm like, oh. And then I got electric guitar, plug it into this like little crappy amp that was all from like JCPenney's, and it didn't sound like that. It sounded like clear and like, you know, clean. And I was like, this ain't right. This is not the sound I want to make. I wanted to make that distortion sound. So then I'm like trying to find distortion pedals, and that led to a whole nother lifetime of tone chasing, which I still really enjoyed to this day, you know? So
I think that's what put Crate on the map, because they were able to sell you an amp that you literally, they tell you to turn the gain up, and you're like, oh, there's the distortion. And you're like, when nobody realized that Marshall that you had and that cheap amp, if you would have just turned the gain up, you probably could have got a little bit of a distorted tone. Because that's really all AC/DC was. I mean, they were just, you know, dimed gain on those amps back in the day.
Yeah, I remember getting a PV backstage, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. This has got more of what I'm looking for, and it was good enough for a while. But then I was getting into Randy Rhoads, and I was just like obsessed. I was like Eddie Van Halen, then Randy Rhoads, and like, of course, I'm like, how am I going to play this stuff? And then I found like this guy had Metal Method, these tapes you would buy from like the back of Circus magazine. It was like, learn Randy Rhoads riffs, learn Eddie Van Halen riffs. So I got the tapes. It came with some tablature and all that stuff. And then I read an article in a guitar magazine with Randy Rhoads talking about a graphic EQ pedal. And I went to Radio Shack because I know they had a bunch of stuff like that. And I got this equalizer pedal, and I like just dimed the mids all the way up, and I messed with it till I got the right sound, and I figured out that turning down the lows, turning up the mids, and turning the highs down a little bit, it got me the sound I wanted. That chuggy crunch, which Eddie Van Halen was doing, and Randy Rhoads had, and then even one of the big things for me was Priest, Unleashed in the East. Man, the Green Man Unleashed, that what they were doing with the palm mutes.
Oh yeah,
that was God for me. I was in my parents' car with a little cassette player, and I'd play that album over and in the car, and my mom would go nuts with it. But she would listen, and she would like let me do it. And I got to tell you, I got to give her credit for them both supporting my obsession with this stuff. They really did support what I did. My dad took me to buy my first Marshall amp. Saved up a bunch of money. The Jubilee series half stack came out, and I was like, oh, this has got to be awesome. I'm going to go get this. So he drove me down to Fort Lauderdale, and we put it in the trunk.
That's awesome.
50 watt Marshall Jubilee, which was a beast, man. That was my whole sound of Raped Apes,
Were you already starting to draw at this time period? Or were you actually like starting to, like as a kid, were you already drawing and stuff?
Yeah, I was drawing before the music thing. Oh, yeah. All the Frazetta and the Conan stuff was before I started playing guitar. Yeah.
Okay. And with the formation of Raped Ape, you actually became friends with. So what was it? There was a pirate radio station, right? WMTL 88.5 was it?
Yep.
And you actually became friends with the original bassist, Dan Rattlehead Cleveland. There.
Right. So we would go to the beach, Lake Worth Beach, and like look for the party, which would be out in the woods out west. Somebody have a keg party, whatever. And then you'd hear him on the radio, playing all kinds of stuff. Like, I remember one of the songs he would always play, which we all thought was great, was by Coven, and it was called Iron Dick. And we were just like, where are you going to hear this on the radio? Nowhere else, And he would play it Megadeth, Slayer, everything, So I was like, you know what? I heard he played bass. He was in a band called Intruder, and I made a tape of me playing a cassette, playing all kinds of riffs and shit, and I sent it to him. And I was like, let me try to get in a band with this dude. We can form a band. We'll be on the radio right here in this area, And he played it on the air one night where I'm driving around, and he's like, this guy Pooch sent me this tape, and we're like driving around somebody's car listening to my my riffs. And I was like, okay, and it worked. And we started the band together, And he got the guy who sang in Intruder, which was Lou, Crazy Lou, to sing.
Because wasn't Intruder a Philly band at first?
Man, I think that's a different one. It's got to be.
Okay.
They were here, but it was Ron Hanisco on guitar, and he might have had it up there too. I'm not sure, They might have just moved here, maybe. I'm not sure.
So that was Crazy Lou who was doing the vocals, and then you got Jim Blackwell for drums.
Jim Blackwell. We went to high school together, and so I would jam with him at his house, and we were writing songs, and that's where a lot of the first like Raped Apes stuff was written, was with him,
And Crazy Lou came up with the name for the band?
He did, because it was like a biker saying, like if something ran real hard and fast, it ran like a raped ape. And I hated it at first. I was like, I don't want to call the band that, I had a band so I had that Infinity band in high school, and then after that, before Raped Ape, I also had this. Another neighborhood band called Deadly Blessing, and we would play Priest and Metallica and Kiss and all kind of stuff. But they kind of like said, look, here he always wanted to call a band this. He's a lead singer. He's got this idea, and I was like, okay, all right, well, let's do it. So once they explained to me what it really meant, I guess I was kind of like, and it was at that time too. There was a lot of hardcore going on that we were listening to, punk and hardcore, and a lot of crazy names. So we were like, the one thing Lou always said, I said, man, you came up with like the best worst name ever. He goes, well, you know what? You know what it was. It wasn't country or pop. I'm like, that's true.
So, and weren't you guys kind of leaning towards that hardcore punk thing at first when you first formed a little bit music wise?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, I was started listening to DRI and COC and SOD. There was a lot of that crossover going on. The Accused. Yeah, so when I was in high school, before Raped Ape, when I was in high school, I hung out with all the punks. All the punks and metalheads hung out together in the courtyard before class. So all those guys turned me on Misfits and Circle Jerks, and I was listening to all that stuff.
And did you guys doing covers at first, or did you guys start writing originals right away?
In Raped Ape, yeah, I think we did. We actually did that Iron Dick song by Coven. That was one of the first things we did. But we had a lot of originals that I wrote. I was listening to a lot of Slayer, like Hell Awaits, a lot of double bass and stuff like that. So that was a huge influence. And of course, Metallica, Master Puppets, and Ride the Lightning, and all that stuff. So.
With that HMTL, that actually helped you guys get a local following too, pretty fast.
Yeah, it helped. It helped the whole local scene develop into something that really worked. There was a bunch of bands. There's a lot going on. So, yeah, it's pretty cool how that all worked out. And one thing I want to tell you guys, since you're in Tampa too, which was a big thing for me, was I remember getting Nasty Savage and Sabotage vinyls and looking on the back of them and seeing where they were from. And I was like, shit, these guys are from Florida? I was like, you can do this? They were on, like Metal Blade Records?
Yeah.
I was like, Combat Records? I'm like, there's bands in Florida? Oh, we're doing this. We can do this. That's what gave me the momentum to like the desire to say, well, I don't have to go to LA. I don't have to go to New York. I can do it in Florida. There's signed bands in Florida,
And what was that scene like in South? Like when you start doing Raped Ape, you guys start actually practicing, rehearsing. What is the scene like there with band wise?
I don't know. It was okay. I mean, like when I remember going to see I wasn't going to bars and stuff at that point in high school, but there was a huge party where there was a band playing, and they were called Crazy Agnes, and this was in obviously maybe 86, and they were very like Motley Crue-esque, and that was a huge thing for me, seeing going to a huge house party, which was so insane, out of control. There was helicopters coming, flying in, it was nuts, and just being able to stand there and watch a band in a house, that gave me a lot of inspiration too. So it's pretty crazy, the timeline, how everything kind of went Motley Crue, Rat, quickly into like Priest for me, and like Metallica. Once Metallica came, I heard Kill 'Em All. I was like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. Raven and Kill 'Em All, Raven and Metallica. Those two albums, that was the two things I listened to for like a year straight. I was just focused on that, But as far as other bands and stuff, I mean, there was a lot more punk bands, which that's what kind of got me into Raped Ape as well, because there was a band called the Roids, and I talked to them, and they sort of hooked me up with somebody else, and I ended up joining a band called Raging Puss Bags, which was like skater. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, and you guys did your first show with them, didn't you? It was Raging Puss Bags, PUI, and the Roids.
Right. Yeah. And so Raging Puss Bags, I played with them for a little while before Raped Ape. I played a couple shows. One was at some like Veterans Hall or something, and I remember just like skinheads like jumping up on the stage and like just it was crazy, man. I wasn't ready for it, and I was just like, oh wow, okay, and like slam dancing and just stage diving and yeah, it was cool. That was a whole different world for me. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Some house party where I played with them, which was like called the Hardcore Hotel, kind of an infamous place in West Palm Beach where punks would just like whatever live there and stuff. It was cool, and the bands would play in the garage. But yeah, so there was a lot more punk bands going on than metal, and thrash metal and stuff like that, which like the heavier shit was not. There was nothing. There was nobody doing that at all. So.
And when you guys first demo, do you remember like what you got was Delray, right? You guys recorded that. Do you remember like what were you guys? I know what like in bands. I know for myself or probably Ed, when you do your first recordings as a kid, you're pretty fucking pumped up. How excited were you guys to actually go record that demo?
Oh man, we were just ready and just ready to kick ass, and that was great. We were stoked to do it. And I don't even remember really like much about the place. I was actually trying to find some info about it from JC Dwyer, the drummer from Raped Ape, and he didn't really know.
That was Vicious Underground Studios. It was called.
Right. Yeah, but you probably saw the same thing he did, which one of those metal archive websites.
Vicious. It was called Vicious Underground.
So he told me about that, and then I talked to Dan Cleveland, Rattlehead, who had WMTL, and he was like, man, I don't even remember it being called that. So there's some debate if it was actually called that, and I think I remember us just calling it that. It wasn't even called. It was just like some guy's studio, And I think Rattlehead was like, let's call it Vicious Underground, and we'll start a thing where other, punk rock and metal bands will go record with this dude. I think that's why we put that on the demo,
I think a lot of bands were doing that back then. Because I even know, like, you would find a lot of, they'd be like, we recorded at our buddy's house. What do we call it? Let's just make up a studio name, It kind of make it the better, the more evil or whatever, the cooler it would sound.
Right.
So you guys mentioned doing. Who did it actually the demo art for that? Did you do the cover art for that cassette?
Yeah, I did it. I drew it. Yeah.
And the old like the Raped Ape logos, I think you guys had a few of them. They were done by Scott White, or were you doing any of those?
Yeah, Scott White did the tribal, the RA logo. Yep, he designed that, and he works with me still. We work together at my tattoo shop.
Yeah, it was 26 years. I'm going to talk about that too, definitely. And like I said, you guys' first gig was an all-age punk show. Then that was with the Raging Puss Bags, the DUI, and the Roids. And that was actually put on by WMTL.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You guys played shows. I was looking at some of the shows you guys had played because I got to Tampa a little bit later. Ed was there during this time period. But you guys played shows at skate rinks, the Atlanta skate rink, the Music Box record store. You guys were doing like, backup. Was it backup pickup trucks you guys were playing? A flatbread truck?
Yeah. Okay. So that was at this guy Terry's house, and we had a big party, big flatbed with the stage as the stage. And one of the things I remember the most about that show was that I met Phil from Malevolent, and we talked. And he was like, he saw us play, and he goes, "Man, you want to join Malevolent? I'm making this band," and I had never heard of him. And I just remember, man, that was really something, It was like, wow, that's when shit was really starting to happen, And I think I remember him saying, we're trying to do something fast stuff. I was like, yeah, that's cool. But then I'm like, where are you guys at? He's like, Fort Lauderdale. I'm like, yeah, I might as well be Mars, dude. I didn't have a car at the time. So I couldn't do it,
You guys were doing 4th of July shows too, which I know were pretty popular back then. You guys did what with the Meat Locker, Gardy Lou.
Yep. Gardy Lou, Ben Meyer, dude. A big shout out to Ben Meyer, dude. Love that guy. Yeah, we used to have so much fun in Tampa with him. All those Gardy shows were, and also me being a huge fan of Nasty Savage, I was just like, you know, I was just happy to hang out with him. And yeah, Mons Venus, the strip club, we used to go there, and it was
Still
great
there.
time. Still there?
Yeah, I think it's still
Really?
there. Yeah,
Still there.
Wow,
Not
nice.
as, I don't know if it's as scummy, but it's definitely still there. Yeah, dude, it was bad back in the day, bro.
Oh yeah,
Definitely brutal. When you walked in, you knew you were in the Mons Venus.
yeah, it was cool. We had fun there. Yeah.
You guys played with Coroner, Solstice, and Ed. Like we were talking, Ed, you done some shows with Pooch too. You did when you were with Eulogy, was it?
Yep. We played Brass Mug, Stone Lounge, a couple different places, man.
Yeah,
and they were raging shows, man, because all the shows in Tampa were always raging, man.
Oh yeah, we love the Brass Mug. It was always a good time there. Yeah, definitely.
So you guys do the In Ape We Trust demo, and then Blackhall leaves the band.
Yes.
So and then you went up with J.C. Dwyer, obviously. So how did that all work out?
Okay, so he was. I'm trying to think. So he was going to the same high school I went to. He was still in high school. I was out. I think I was maybe a year out of high school, and I think somebody knew somebody. You know what it was? It was Crazy Lou's, like a friend of Crazy Lou's knew him, or knew his aunt or something, and it just worked out. And like basically we got together and jammed, and yeah, we were impressed. He was good. You know, there's a few things he didn't know yet. The fast thrash beat, I showed him that, but the double bass, he was already kind of like, he was getting that, you know. So, but then, man, hey, look, the guys. I try to play with other drummers and stuff, and it's cool and everything, but there's nothing like the chemistry I have with that dude. I don't know, it's just years of playing with him, but he's a great drummer, really. I mean,
and would you say he added some technical? He like gave the band a little more technicalness to it.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, we were able to do more. Yeah, we weren't as limited, so we could do more. And we started getting into more, like we heard Atheist and Morbid Angel, and then we met the guys in Cynic, and we were just like, what the hell, man? Like, it was unreal, just the stuff that was going on, And you mentioned Coroner. I've played that tape till it was broken. Love those guys, I loved Yngwie. So Coroner to me was like Yngwie thrash, So that was one of those things. I still love, like, there's a band called Ex Mortis I just heard. Oh my God, unbelievable, man! Wow, just like killer neoclassical metal, Still love that stuff.
Yeah, and you're doing that. So in '89, early '89, Lou leaves the band.
Yeah, Lou left. He was just, he felt a little bit older. He was older than us. He wasn't relating too much to stuff, and we're trying to convince him to stay, because he had a great stage presence. He was a great singer, great front man, and then at that point we tried to find a singer. And I think what ended up happening was, I was at my buddy's house in my neighborhood. That he had his own band in his house, and he was jamming with these guys. And one of the guys was Jimmy Kelly, and I went to high school with him, so I knew him from high school. And they were doing a Testament, no, not Aerosmith cover that Testament did. Nobody's Fault or something. And he sounded like Chuck Billy a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's pretty good. He's got a kind of gravelly, strong voice, So I asked him. I was like, "Hey, Lou quit. We need a singer. You want to come jam? Check it out, And he goes, "Yeah, that's cool, but if I do, JP wants to come too. It's like a 2-person deal." I was like, "Oh, second guitar?" It's like, "Fuck yeah, dude! I want 2 guitars. Yeah, we can do much more with that." So that's how that happened. That's how we ended up getting JP in the band.
And with JP, at first, when he first got in the band, you were handling most of the lead stuff, but basically, eventually, you guys kind of, figured it out where both of you were doing the stuff. and obviously the vocals.
And harmonies, we could do harmonies. And so that opened up a whole new thing, you know, where we were like, yeah, let's, now we can do all this fun stuff.
Yes, you know, so you guys did that. So you're updated a lot. So you guys at that time, it's you, JC, Jimmy, and JP. And what was the vibe? Or did you guys just feel like, you know how when you're at that point in bands where you just know everything, the right guys are in the band. Did you have that feeling then?
Yeah, we were like, I remember there was a place called The Pit that Rattlehead had opened with another guy, another partner of his.
Is that West Palm?
Yep, in West Palm, and it was upstairs, and it was him and this guy Chase. They opened it as a place, as a venue. So here's this guy who had an underground radio station, and now he wanted to have a venue. You know, hold on one second.
No problem, man.
So yeah, so they opened The Pit, and the first night opening show was Nasty Savage, Death, and Sadist, I believe. And we got to open for them. So we were just like,
hell of a lineup right there. Yeah.
I mean, like it's just like, what? You know? And man, I just, that night hanging out with all of them guys, you know, and just, it was like a dream come true. I was like, I can't believe all this is happening here in West Palm Beach. This is unreal, you know? So we were like in the place where, yes, we're doing this, and we want to do more and more and more, you know? So yeah, it was a good time.
You guys are doing shows like you said, and then you guys are about to record, right? The Perpetual Aggravation demo, and then Jim Kelly quits before the gig.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. He actually texted me today. I haven't heard from him in a bit. So that's funny. I'm going to have him listen to this. Yeah. Basically, we played a show, and the guys from, I think it was with Cynic, and Rob was there, Rob Barrett from Cannibal. He was in Solstice at the time. Or it might have been before Solstice, but he was hanging out with the Cynic guys for sure. And Jimmy didn't show up. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to sing. So I did. And, you know, they were like, the guys in Cynic and Rob were all like, dude, you should sing. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm the singer now.
That's how it works.
That's how that happened. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to play guitar. You know?
And you guys, you were going to record that demo in like a couple weeks, so you guys kind of had to figure it out fast. Did Jimmy actually write some of the material on the demo? Was it like already done? Was it already pretty much written and ready to go before the changeover?
No, I think I was writing a lot of the lyrics, and JC wrote a lot of the lyrics too. Yeah. Okay. I don't think Jimmy wrote a lot of lyrics. No, it was me and JC. Yeah.
Okay. And we're actually going to play a song right now. We're going to play "Circle of Blood," that was on the Perpetual Aggravation CD or demo. Anything you could tell us about this tune before we play it?
Well, it's inspired by the Punisher and the Punisher comic. So, I was into comics. I was reading all kinds of stuff, you know. So, and then of course Anthrax had their, you know, I Am the Law. So that was a big influence, was seeing what other bands were singing about, you know. So it's a Punisher. And I wrote most of the lyrics. JC helped too with some of those lyrics. So
we're going to play that track now. This is Circle of Blood off the Perpetual Aggravation demo from Raped Ape, and we'll be back with Pooch right after this track. There you go. That was Circle of Blood from Raped Ape. And during this time period, you started tattooing, because I know this is all kind of going on in the same time period. You start tattooing at 18 years old? Or you start actually being an apprentice, right? At 18 years old, is it?
Yeah, so Rattlehead got tattooed by this guy, Big Jeff, and he was tattooing out of his house. And the Ape We Trust demo was out, and I think the tattoo he got was something I drew for the WMTL. It was like a skull with sword through it or something. So we both go to his house, and he's like, "Bring all your drawings. Show him your stuff. Maybe he'll, teach you to tattoo because he's going to open his own shop." And I was like, "Oh, cool, okay." So yeah, I'm like 18. I got all my drawings and go over to this guy's house. Biker guy, Big Jeff Watson, smoking tattoos. He probably still has smoking tattoos in Ohio. Still, he moved back to Ohio at one point, but Yeah, I remember just being in there, watching him get tattooed, and he showed me a drawing that he did. It was a skeleton holding a pistol, like with the pistol pointing at the viewer. And he said, "Yeah, that guy that I did the tattoo on, he got shot and he's been killed. So I'll never do that tattoo again." And I was like, "Wow, this is fucking heavy, man. Like tattoos are like they're powerful, As 18 years old, I'm just soaking this stuff up. So getting in, apprenticing with him, and he was in a different world with the bikers and stuff. Man, I learned a lot from those guys, like about respect and how to conduct myself and what to do and what not to do. Real fast, dude, real fast. And I thank him forever for making my whole life, my career, my passion. It's tattooing.
And he had you actually drawn on skin, right? So you were actually were you doing the tracing for him before he would tat the guys?
Yeah, like he would have me draw on people with ballpoint pen. Like wash the skin with alcohol, get the oils off, and then use a ballpoint pen to draw. Which we don't use ballpoint anymore. It's really hard to draw on skin with. We use like Sharpies and stuff, But yeah, I was doing that and drawing and all kinds of stuff, and apprenticing with him. But it got to the point where I was doing so much with the band, I just didn't have time. I was working during the day job, doing the band, and then trying to show up there and apprentice when I could. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be there enough. And he said, "Man, you should come back to this. Do your bands. Like, it's too much for you." So I was like, "Okay." So I did, and I got out of it. And then it took me probably like a good 4 years before I got back into it again.
And when you guys, as the band was, you talk about the band were so Perpetual Aggravation. How long was it after that before actual Rattlehead left the band? Your bassist.
After Perpetual, I don't know, maybe like a year, give or take, something like that.
And you hooked up with Mike, actually, and Mike actually, Ed. Mike Moreno, he played with Derek Roddy actually on Serpent's Rise too. How'd you hook up with Mike?
Right. We went to a show at Rosebuds in Fort Lauderdale, and he was in a band playing guitar, and I don't know, just we sort of. I don't know whose idea it was, really. I can't remember, but I just know we said, "Hey, we need a bass player. Want to play bass with us?" And we had played that night too and whatnot. So it was kind of like the band he was in wasn't doing anything, and we were kind of doing some stuff. So I think he was like, "Okay, cool. This will be cool. I'll be able to do more with these guys." That was, I'm sure, his thinking, And for us too was like, well, I'm sure he'll do it, And all the guys he was in the band with, we were all hanging out after that as well. They still did some stuff. He didn't play with them, and I can't remember the name of the band, but they were doing thrashy stuff. I mean, it was heavy stuff. Fast.
And like in the Miami metal scene, what was the reaction to the Raped Ape demos? Were you guys just like, because you guys, I know, just from me and Ed know from like the legends of the band from back in the day, you guys had a pretty good following right away. And do you just remember like how people accepted Raped Ape in South Florida or even Tampa?
That was good. Really good. Yeah. I mean, all the bands that we played with, we were friends with immediately, like Cynic. We played a lot with them, and they came to the recording of Perpetual. They were there hanging out, listening to some of the tracks while we were there. And one of those things to this day, I'm honored to know those dudes, really. And, it's sad that Sean passed away and, but it was magical stuff, dude. I mean, it's, that was, everybody was digging what we were doing, it was, and we were trying to, look what everybody else was doing, trying to pick up on, what we liked and, stuff like that. So I was eating it up, man. I was eating up like anything heavy, fast, whatever it was, I mean, I was buying like, Agnostic Front and Yngwie at the same go, like whatever it was. I liked it,
I was going to say that because I noticed, like, I would watch. I don't know what it was. It was something it was something with you. You were talking about some of the bands that you were listening to, and it was a different variety of bands. It wasn't just Death,
yep.
this. It was like Exhorder to, obviously Sepultura, but you were going, I think there was like Soundgarden in there, Alice in Chains. It was a mixture where which I mean, if you listen to Raped Ape, you can hear even the songs, they're not exactly all the same. And I found that when I was listening, when you were talking about this on this thing I heard, it made sense that your influences were very wide ranged.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we did the Terminal Reality stuff, you can hear Prong in there. There's definitely, I was listening to Prong a lot. There was a lot of that more groovy stuff. Biohazard came out. We played a show at Biohazard at Washington Square in Miami. Of course, this is a little later down the line, but probably maybe after Terminal. Yeah. So the precursor to the Paingod stuff would be our experience playing with Biohazard and just, playing our technical thrash metal stuff to a crowd of people that were standing there looking at us, just like what, scratching their heads, like what is this? And then Biohazard comes on, and the place is moving and just hopping, and like the groove of the man. We were just immediately blown away by that. We're like, okay, this is something we need to look into, like something a little more where people are gonna feel it and get a groove or vibe. And it was power, man. It was just unbelievable, the vibe from that. But I tell you, before that night, we were just all about the technical speed. We're listening to Atheist, we're listening to Morbid Angel, Creator, Coroner, Destruction, Sodom. That's what I was into. But
and what are you guys rehearsing back then? Are you guys rehearsing like? Cause I know we're going to talk about the Terminal Reality recording in '93 you did, and I know that from just even the Scott Burns book to just you guys were prepared for this. So were you guys doing like what? How many practices a week would you say? Were you guys were like a machine at that time period?
Oh yeah, definitely, 3 nights a week for sure. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then how did you get in contact with Scott Burns?
I don't know. I mean, I think we just decided, okay, we're going to do this. And, we saw the albums he was working on. And for me, I know personally, Beneath the Remains was eye-opening for me. That blew me away. I love that sound. And I think we just called him up and asked what the rates were. And, we ended up, our manager, and we all talked about it, and Jim Hayward was our manager, and we ended up finding a couple of the fans of the band who said they would basically fund it. So we basically borrow money from them.
Crowdfunding before it was the thing.
Yeah, they were called JG Records, basically. And so we ended up doing it with them and another friend of ours who helped us too, Jamie Weir, and we basically paid them all back. And that's how that happens, But it was just a matter of calling and finding when the time was available. And, Scott would work with people. I don't think it was like a case of he would only work with certain people. I think he was pretty open to working with whoever wanted him, I think.
And what was your first impressions of Scott when you actually got into the studio? Because obviously Morrisound, the DSI Records, Obituary, Malevolent Creation it's like a historic place. Even back then it had a name. So what was it? Yeah. What was your first impressions of when working with him? Was there nerves like a little bit at first?
Yeah, I'm sure, but we were pretty confident and practiced a lot until we were ready. And, we were also pretty confident of our tones and our sound. Me and JP, we worked on our guitar sound, so we were really proud of it. So we knew that when we went in there with our stuff that he was going to be yeah, that's good, sounds good. Because we had heard that some bands would use amps that he the Marshalls there or whatever, but we're now we're bringing ours in, and we got this certain sound. So I would say we were pretty confident, and we were stoked, and just he was cool as fuck, laid back, really easy to work with, and yeah, it was great. And I remember, some of the highlights of being there were being Morbid Angel was there too, doing some stuff with Tom Morris, and I was in the little cafe with Trey, and we were just talking about, I don't remember what we're talking about, but I asked him, I said, man, I got to ask you about, I know you like cut yourself on stage and stuff. Like, tell me about tell me about it. Like, what's that like? And he's like, well, you know what, man, I got to take antibiotics like all the time because I don't get infections. And we're just like drinking coffee, like talking, like, you know, in the morning, like just whatever. Morning for us, afternoon, you know. And it was cool. He was cool as hell, and I was just like, you know, again, just like fanboyed out and just, wow, man, this is cool. We're in here. And then there's like, you know, Sabotage singer.
Oh, Oliva, John
Oliva came walking by, and I was just like, oh, dude, I'm not worthy, you know, like, then hey man, I love you guys. Sabotage, Sirens, man, Dungeons Are Calling. I was like, he's like, thanks, man. So yeah, it was unreal to be there. We were in heaven, bro. It was the place to be, you know.
And I read you guys did most of those takes in one shot, right? It was minimal punch-ins on that. You guys pretty much were nailing it.
Yeah, we definitely like tried to get the drums, like, you know, the guitars were scratch tracks. The drums were the key. So get the drums perfect, and then we went back and, you know, we did our guitars.
Did you write most of the lyrics on that record?
Pretty much, yeah. So, and again, JC helping big time with lyrics. Yep.
And Scott, he actually pushed. So you know, we have on the Raped Ape, you have the vocals in there, but with JP's vocals also. And actually, Scott pushed him to do more backups on that record because, you know, obviously JP has a pretty brutal voice.
Yeah. No, we were. No, he was going to do what he was going to do for sure. When we got there, he goes, "Yeah, guys, I think I'll call John Tardy up and, you know, have him come down and do like a guest vocal." We were like, "What? Awesome, man! We're stoked, you know." And then JP did his vocal, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm not calling John Tardy. I think JP's got it, you know." And we were like, "Okay." I was kind of like, I kind of want John Tardy to come in. That would be great, but who knows, man? It could have been a thing where like he might have said no. I don't know, but that's our story. It's like, well, you know, he was going to call John Tardy, but once JP did his, he didn't have to.
You know, I think you guys had leads by Dennis Munoz on there, right? He did some guitar work on there.
Yeah, on an instrumental song. Yeah, he did some leads, and actually now with this release, we found some other lead that wasn't used on another part, so we put it in there. So it's a little bit different now. So an unearthed, hidden lead that we found of Dennis's.
And how long did you guys spend in Morristown altogether to record that? What was the time you guys spent there doing the EP?
I think it was like a week, maybe 5 days, something like that.
And is this the time period? So you start airbrushing too, right? So is this because you did the cover for this also?
Yeah, I was airbrushing. Actually, like way before that, I had gotten the airbrush. Rattlehead was part of that. He helped, you know, my girlfriend at the time. He got together with her and was like, "Oh, let's get him an airbrush. You should get him an airbrush for Christmas or whatever." So, yeah, I was totally obsessed with H.R. Giger's artwork, and I was learning to airbrush and stuff. So I painted that in my parents' garage, the terminal cover, using airbrush and like rulers and straight edges and railroad track, like HO gauge miniature railroad track to spray over and all that kind of stuff. So
we're actually going to play a track off of that EP right now. We're going to play Land of Broken Promises off the Terminal Reality EP, and we'll be right back on the Tampa Morgue after this song. go. That was Land of Broken Promises from Raped Ape off the Terminal Reality EP. You guys also, I think, but you guys used that Land of Broken Promises on the 7-inch you guys did with Bloody Mary, the band out of Charlotte, North Carolina. How did you guys get on the split with them? Were you guys friends with that band?
Yeah, we were playing a lot of shows with them. Yep. And it was just a mutual idea. I think maybe it was their idea to do it. So we're like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. Yeah, we used to play a lot of shows, had a lot of fun with them guys.
And then Mike leaves, was it 93, 94? He leaves the band, and you guys get Thomas Buckley in there. And he was the bassist for Lobotomy, and you guys share a practice space with them, right?
Yes.
And the Wonder Junkies.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we knew Tommy from around, and also I knew he was in Hellwitch, which we see them around. We played shows with them, and and we knew it was like, oh yeah, he's watching him with Lobotomy, and his bass sound was just like crazy. I mean, he played with his fingers, a little different than Mike. Mike played with a pick, and we found him to be a really, really great singer too. And in the Paingod stuff, we had him start singing more. And I actually got to the point where I wanted him to take over vocals because I thought he really had something that I was never like 100% like happy with my vocals. I mean, looking back now, I am, but at the time I wasn't. And I had some issues singing too. It was really tough for me to play guitar and sing. And
I was going to ask you that. Was that a real pain in the ass for you?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I was trying to get him to do it. But I thought his voice just to me was kind of reminded me of the guy from Dead Horse. We were huge fans of Dead Horse, and I always thought he sounded like him, and I was like, maybe. But I've talked to a lot of people that are like, yeah, we didn't understand why you did that. So it's one of those things. You look back at things and go, well, maybe I wasn't. Maybe I just should have kept singing. I don't know, but Tommy was a good vocalist.
Then you guys do the Stuck demo, and so it's JP, Tommy, JC, and yourself. You guys recorded that in Fort Lauderdale. Did you guys was there a discussion before? Obviously '94. Were you guys already talking about possibly making a name change? And was there like this kind of mindset going on in the band already?
Yeah, for sure. We were kicking around the idea for a couple of years, just like what could we use, and it was tough. It's hard to do that, to come up with something cool. And I think really it came down to we got to deal with Century Media, and they were like, yes, we want you to change the name. So there was a story I read by Harlan Ellison called Paingod, and I thought that was a cool name. I mean, I was into Godflesh too, and Fear Factory, and just some of that stuff was going on. A little bit of the industrial starting to come into the heavy stuff, and I felt it had like a kind of vibe to it, like the next kind of thing that would really work. So that's why I went with that. So
did you guys get any did you guys get any blowback from changing the name from some of the fans of Raped Ape?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. People were like, why would you change the name? Well, we do what we got to do, and yeah. So even to this day, people are like, I don't know why you changed the name, but that was, Raped Apes is a great name. But being on the, the inside of it, and when you're talking to a record label and they're pretty much like, yeah, we'll do it, but you got to change the name. Okay, to which we'll change the name, So, and if in Scott Burns' book, he mentions it, he always thought it was not a great name. And yeah, I agree with him. I mean, definitely held us back.
It's a memorable name, though. Like we've talked about Raped Ape on this show several times, and it's always a name that when you bring it up, even some of the guests, like we had Pat from Hellwitch on. He was one of our first guests. We love Pat. We had him on, and we right when you mentioned Raped Ape, it just like pause for a second. It's like, everyone's always like Raped Ape. It's kind of a it's a name. Like what was it, Jehovah's Sickness? There's certain band names that that stick with you,
Right. Yeah.
So you guys, when you guys changed names, so you guys, which Ed, we were talking about this earlier this afternoon, me and Ed, because Ed was involved in this. You guys were on Metal Massacre, was it 12, right? You guys had
12.
with Crisis and Eulogy. in Ancient, but was that your guys? Was that the first appearance you guys made as Paingod, or was it the full length first?
Let me think. No, we had done a demo before that for sure.
Yeah, two demos actually, right? You guys did two demos before that.
Right, exactly. So, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there was a compilation. I don't remember the timeline now. What came first? Yeah.
Because I think you guys had, so it was demo in '95, demo in '96, and I think you guys were actually playing that song. "Stuck" was actually originally from the last Raped Ape demo that you guys
Yes,
put out.
correct.
Yeah.
Before we changed the name. Yep, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And under the pain, you did the full length, obviously the self-titled full length, and like, did you guys do many shows as Paingod? Like, what were you guys? Was there because you guys formed what? You guys put out the record in '97, and I think you guys pretty much ended in '97.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what ended up happening was, at the same time that we got the deal from Century Media, I was opening my tattoo shop, and I had to really make a choice. Go on the road to Europe with, I forget who the band was that they wanted to go on the road with, or open my shop. So that's what I chose. Yeah.
And you speak about tattooing. You actually started tattooing out of your house at first.
Yeah, for a little bit. Yeah. I was working out of my house on some friends and stuff, and then actually a friend of mine got in trouble. Like, something happened. He tattooed some underage girls, and their girl's dad was a cop, so he called me up, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing this anymore. I got to get into a shop. I don't want to do this out of my house." So I went to this guy Scully, who used to work with Big Jeff, who was my mentor, and I got a job with him working at Treasure Coast Tattoos. That's where I first started.
And you were doing nights there?
Yeah, I had a day job, and he told me, "Don't quit your day job." So I quit my day job, and I was like, "Look, I want to do this, man. If I don't quit my day job, I'm not going to do this." So I knew I had to do that.
And so you guys, when you got your own shop, so you guys have been around. Sort of, the shop's 26 years old now, 27 years old.
Yep, 27. Yep.
Okay, and if you want, what's the name of the shop and the address? We'll mention that too.
Altered State Tattoo, and it's Boynton Beach, Florida, 10114 South Military Trail.
And you guys started actually in Lake Worth, right? You guys were there for a long period of time.
Yeah. I think we moved to Boynton Beach about 7 years ago, so we've been there 7 years now. But yeah, for the bulk of, we opened in '96, basically, in Lake Worth. So.
Okay, so you guys, and now you're in Boynton, and you guys basically, you guys at Altered State, you guys specialize in custom work. Is that like the main thing there?
Yeah, custom work, and I've got people that do walk-ins too. So we do pretty much everything.
Okay. And you also paint too. I mean, obviously you've done a bunch of art shows. I know you've done art shows in Los Angeles, I think Seattle.
Yep.
You did Paul Booth's studio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've painted guitars for Rob Barrett.
Yep.
So you did two guitars for him, right?
Yep, I did. One that was kind of like a battered up tank, like kind of metal and shot up and stuff. And the other one was like zombie kind of face with like guts and gore and stuff like that. Yeah.
And you actually did paint. So you do paintings, like I said. You actually did paintings for from up north. Actually, I think New York, basically the graffiti. I think they call him the Godfather of graffiti. You did for Richard Scene.
Richie Scene. Yeah. He's I think he owns about 10 of my paintings, and yeah, man, he's definitely a great guy, and he does some crazy stuff himself. I mean, he's been pumping out these paintings for this gallery called what the heck is it called? It's a huge gallery, but he's been doing that for quite a while now. They're all the major cities like London, New York, Opera Gallery, I think maybe it's called. Yeah. But yeah, I got to go up there and meet him. Went to his studio in the Bronx, but he moved. Now he's in Vegas. So.
And the shows, you say, how do you like doing those art shows? Because I know you like I said, you've done a bunch of art shows. Is that, obviously you've played music and you've done the art shows. I mean, we're all pretty much sure where you make your money at, because we've all been in bands forever. I mean, but is it like, so you've, like I said, I've seen your artwork, man. It's fucking amazing. I know you're influenced by like Dolly, right? Escher, and you were a big H.P. Lovecraft guy too.
Yeah, used to read a lot of Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, Conan. Those guys were actually contemporaries. They used to write to each other. So, I was really, really interested in all that stuff, which kind of, I think, came from the comic books and stuff, like, kind of led me into that. But, I still have work in Copra Gallery in Los Angeles. I have a painting of Lemmy that's there now still. I just sold a painting of Dio that I did. Dio riding a tiger, of course. Yeah. And they're a great gallery. They had a big Giger show recently. There was supposed to be a big Giger exhibition in Los Angeles. So I got really motivated. I was like, man, I contacted them. I said, I'm going to do this big portrait of Giger with like, my thing is kind of roller coaster rides, like haunted house rides. That's kind of what my paintings are based off of. I'll take different themes and incorporate them into these roller coaster rides. So I thought, how can I combine Giger with like a ride? So I put like those little babies in the cars that he would paint, those little crazy babies, and a big portrait of his face. So we were trying to coincide it with this big Giger exhibition, and it never happened. It got postponed. And just recently, I found out it was a huge scam. It never was going to happen. People got ripped off. Their tickets, they never got refunded. And it wasn't involved. It wasn't like associated with Giger's museum at all. So I'm not sure how somebody pulled this off, but somebody really scammed people. And I was really looking forward to going to the exhibition, to the show at Copra Gallery. But the show happened anyway, and it was really great success. People dug it. There was tons of great artists that showed their work there. So, So that painting is still available there too. The big Giger portrait.
How was that? Paul
That's
Booth?
The main gallery that I work with. Huh?
How was Paul Booth? Was that pretty cool? Going to his studio in New York?
I didn't actually go to that show, but I've got tattooed by him here way back. At a place called Tattoo Paradise. He did a tattoo on me there, and he's a great guy. I think Chris Barnes came by the shop actually right after he tattooed me that day to get tattooed by him.
And is it actually the first person you ever tattooed was yourself?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. On my calf. Yep. Figured I'd practice on myself first. That's probably get a good feel of it first before I go hurting somebody else.
Yeah, and for doing 26 years, this is like, you love doing this. Do you have any issues with because I know like we have some friends who are tattoo artists, and sometimes they have the hand issues eventually, and I know the guns have changed through the years, or even back issues. Have you pretty much stayed clear of all that shit?
Not my back.
No,
my back is terrible, really bad. Yeah, because sitting all these years, leaning forward, bending over, and all that stuff. So it's pretty bad. But I found some things that help me, like stretching and getting a better chair to sit in, stuff like that. So that's the only thing that really fixed me. But my hands, I haven't had problems with. So luckily, not yet.
Nice. And so how much do you tattoo every day? Or are you pretty much like like you have like what 5 or 6 artists that work under you in your studio?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's 6 of us there. I tattoo like 5 days a week. Yeah.
Okay. And you also make like I saw totem pole mugs and stuff. I mean, you got skateboard decks. You pretty much, I mean, you've turned it. It's definitely like you could see that you got a whole thing going on there. I mean, I was looking at some of the stuff you've done, and it's pretty incredible.
The tiki mugs are a huge thing. That's another obsession of mine. I got into having the Mai Kai in Fort Lauderdale. Just growing up around it, my parents took me there when I was a kid. I just developed this fascination with the whole tiki culture. So now they have an event that happens every year in June called Hukilau. So there's all kinds of vendors that make tiki mugs, tiki art, stuff like that. And I ended up, designing some mugs and my whole roller coaster vibe. So I was like, let me put a tiki in a roller coaster car and kind of like see how this looks. And I sent the design to a tiki farm, and they loved it. And we started talking about producing the mug. And I said, hey, these rides have like multiple cars, like a train. Let's make maybe like 4 mugs and, collect them all kind of thing. So they were like, cool, great idea. So my original idea was to have them separate, but they ended up saying, you know what, this is too cool. We're going to do all 4 mugs in one box. So it's a set to buy as a set. And they're still available at tikifarm.com. So
I started seeing these. I don't know if I started seeing these tiki one over at Spooky Empire over in Orlando.
Cool.
They have these too now. These designs I started seeing for the mugs.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy mugs, like, Cthulhu inspired mugs, monster stuff, Star Wars. Pretty much anything you can think of has been made into a tiki mug now.
And what is the worst tattoo idea you've ever had that someone wanted you to do that? Have you ever tried to talk anybody out of like, hey man, do you really want to do this? Like, think twice.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. One of them was a guy wanted a guy blowing his brains out with a shotgun. And I just was like, well, is there a picture you want, or is there like from a movie? Like, is there an image? He's like, no. And I said, well, what if I was to do it kind of cartoonish, like almost like Ren and Stimpy, or like what they call new school tattoo vibe. He's like, yeah, cool. So I made it really like,
the
very
happiest you could.
Well, I did it. I ended up doing it. But, I mean, as far as what I won't do, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to, but one of the ones that sticks out in my mind was somebody wanted like a pit bull, like killing a cat. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that, man. That's not, I had cats, I was like, I have dogs now. And I'm just like, nah, I'm not into that. I thought it was tasteless, so I didn't do it.
Check that dude's hard drive. I would check that dude's hard drive in a second. There's something not right with that.
Yeah, man. I'm like, nah, I don't like that. I love animals, so like I couldn't bring myself to draw something like that.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
But there's all kinds of weird requests through the years. But obviously anything racist, of course. I mean, not recently, but in the day there would be people asking for stuff like that. I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. Nope. So.
Do you guys get the opposite of that? Do you guys get people coming in that want to get cover ups of like some of their old tattoos that they regret? Like, and when I'm talking about that, I don't mean like the Playboy bunny. I'm talking about like old racist shit or like.
Yeah, I got a great story about that. This one guy, really, really nice guy. I've been tattooing him for years. One of the first things I did on him, on his chest, he had like this like guard tower, this like Auschwitz guard tower with like a swastika. And he's Jewish. And I said, wow. Why did you get that, man? He goes, man, I was in prison and I wanted to get in with the white power guys in prison. And he was Jewish. So I was like, oh, it's a crazy story, dude. I'll cover it up for sure. And I covered that up for him. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like they say, if you go to prison, you're supposed to walk up and like punch the biggest guy in the face as you can or whatever, or some crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do. So obviously you're still doing the shop, and then 2012. I know that Raped Apes put out the Past Tense compilation, and then 2013 the Land of Broken Promises compilation. And you guys did a reunion show in 2013. How did that all come about?
Well, I think we were talking about it for a while, and I think it was. You know what? Oh, okay. It was the Land of Broken Promises CD. That was part of that. I believe was why we did that. Yeah. But
did you guys just do one show? Was it for that?
Just one. Yeah, just one show. Yeah, it was great. It was at Propaganda in Lake Worth, which is pretty much like one of the places where there's most underground bands around here. So it's good venue for that. But yeah, that was fun. It was great. We had an awesome time. Yeah, we were trying to get Little Mike to come and play, but it just didn't work out. So we got Rick Bentley to play bass with us, who we were in a band with at the time anyway. So we had a thing called Trailer Shark, which we did covers. We ended up also jamming with Rick in. We did another band too, Ferocious Stones, which I still kind of mess with now. I'm still jamming with some people doing it. JC moved, so I don't, I can't jam with him, but that's currently, I'm trying to make that work. The Ferocious Stones, which is kind of like stoner rock, kind of Sabbathy, rock and roll Sabbathy.
And you were also doing, was it before you were tattooing? You were doing karaoke? You were karaoke machines?
Yeah, I was. Well, Scott White that did the tribal designs. Me and him worked at a karaoke warehouse.
Okay.
And we would basically test the machines and, check them out. And if they were no good, we would have to send them to get repaired. Or if they were good, we'd repackage them. And that's about the time I started tattooing again. When I was apprenticing with Big Jeff, and then I got out of it, and then that's when I was like, okay, I'm tired of working in a warehouse. I'm going to tattoo. That was my day job that Scully told me not to quit.
So, and when you, like with the Paingod thing, were you, like when that ended, were you kind of done with jamming for a while, or you kind of just wanted to focus on the tattoo part and the art part of your life, and you kind of like separated yourself, like, you just get spent sometimes where you just over it?
Oh, yeah, because tattooing took like every iota ounce of energy that I had. You know what I mean? Like, it still does. I mean, I haven't painted in like a year. I just tattoo now. I mean, it takes a lot, and I'm happy with it. It's a great medium for me, and I get a lot out of it. And yeah, so at that time, yes, I was not. But I think I started jamming again, like not too long after that. I always still would play guitar at home and stuff. And I think the next thing I did after that was probably this thing called MG42, which was with JP. Not a lot of people have heard that, but it's kind of like it's similar to what the Ferocious Stones stuff is, kind of inspired by COC, like the later COC stuff. Caius, High on Fire, Sleep. That's the kind of stuff we were listening to, which I still like.
We were just talking about, Ed was just talking about the new High on Fire.
Yeah, the new High on Fire shreds, man. I love that
great.
record.
Love it, man.
Matt Pike is a genius.
Oh, I love that guy. Man, I've seen him so many times. They always bring it. Killer band.
They just got that new drummer kid, but him and the bass player, they know how to blend their tones. That's how you know you got a good fucking sound, is when you can blend tones.
Yeah, they have great sound.
And his voice, you would think that you look at him and he sounds like a guy that, you think he's a biker dude that probably, but when he's just got such a great, it's just a great sound. I mean, I'm glad they're still putting out records, because bands like that, COC, they created a different genre of Caius you were talking about. I wish I could remember the other band, man. We were talking about it earlier. There was a tour back in the day with Slayer, and they had all those bands on it, and it was it was great. Mastodon, and those bands kind of took it over, and for a while, that's the kind of music I wanted to play. Death metal's great, man. I mean, I've been doing death metal since Eulogy.
Yeah.
Before Eulogy. 94, 93. Sometimes you just like, but it is what it is.
For me, it was like a natural kind of vibe. I don't know. I just started listening to more of that stuff and tuned down, because like in Raped Ape we're tuned to E, and then the Paingod album was tuned to D, and then I started getting into tuning down lower, and just when I felt like when I tuned lower, I wanted to play slower. I didn't want to play as fast. I was listening to Clutch too. That was a big inspiration for a lot of the stuff I'm doing now. But all that stuff's great. But then I still listen to, like I was listening to Liquid Metal, and Sodom was on today. Like, I love that stuff. Creator, I still just eat that stuff up. I was telling my buddy about a band called Sacrilege BC. Now, a lot of people may know about this, but you guys want to hear something that kicks ass, that's fast as hell, and like kind of, it's almost like, it reminds me like if Slayer and DRI, you know, had a baby. Sacrilege BC, Party with God. What a great album, you know? That's a moment in time right there.
Pooch, do you find that it's, do you find it's hard to find new bands like you know, me and Ed are always trying to like siphon, because you know, when you get older, I think you listen to a lot of the shit that's in your record collection you grew up on, you loved it your whole life. It's do you find it kind of hard sometimes to find new bands?
I got to tell you, the biggest thing for me is listening to that liquid metal. I mean, there's always something, you know. There's a lot of stuff I don't like on there, but
some of the new stuff that they come out with and they push, like Knock Loose, great band, but when you listen to them and you're just like, you sound like a band kind of that was made 20 years ago or 15 years ago. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not like you didn't reinvent the wheel. You just kind of got lucky. And again, nothing against the band. It's just when I listen to them, or now they're doing this something grind. I can't remember. They took over liquid metal and they did 4 songs at a party, and the girl sings, and she sings because it's a grind band. And I'm like, you think maybe you made it because the chick's doing grind metal vocals? You know what I mean? It's like nothing personal, but it's like, I know a lot of bands. Like when I see Deicide, okay, their new record came out. I expect to see Deicide. I expect to see Cannibal Corpse. I expect to see, but some of these bands, like because I go to the gym in the morning and that's when they play like some weird shit. And I'm like, where are these bands coming from? I've never heard this, and it's nothing that I would go, that's groundbreaking, and it needs to be out. Like Frozen Soul, again, you know, great band, but
I mean, pretty much what I find, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I listen to it to liquid metal, and I'm if it strikes me, like, I don't have any preconceived notions. If it strikes me, it does. It's not because it's on there. If it does, it doesn't. If it doesn't, it's as pretty, like, as neutral as I can possibly be. And man, I got to tell you, there's like, okay, so I heard this band Mutoid, man. Loved them immediately. Something different. Saw them at Psycho Fest in Vegas. First band I saw since COVID had shut everything down. And I was just like, and they sounded amazing live. They were great live. It was my first show since, you know, for like a year not seeing a show. That they played that Ex Mortis the other day, and they've been around. I've heard them before, you know. There's always something, you know, interesting.
I think when you know too is when you listen to any of those shuffles or something, you always know, like, if you actually look to see what the band's called, because you know you'll hear like 5 songs, but if something really catches your ear, right? You have to like That's how you know, kind of.
Ex Mortis has that old thrashed sound, so it kind of resonates. You know what I mean? Kind of like the band Riley, the guy. What was he passed away? Oh man, they were fucking all over the place. But anyway,
Power Trip.
Yes,
love Power Trip,
and it's one of those. But when you hear it, it's those fucking it's those riffs like Violence. When you hear the old school Violence and that fucking those riffs, man, or Exodus, or you know, it's just that old thrash sound. You hear that coming from the radio. You look to see who it is because you're like, they captured a sound, and that's what Ex Mortis did for sure.
Dying Fetus, man, there'll be a riff that comes out of there. Like when they get into those little groove riffs, I'm like, I'm driving, I'm like, this is the shit. Like,
especially when that double bass is fucking flying and they're doing that, just that, you know, that weird riff
for those moments, you know.
Yep.
I gotta have it. So it's like
X-Order, like Slaughter in the Vatican. That's what got me with those albums when I was a kid. There was groove to them, but they were just nasty.
Right. Yeah, and so we played with them. It was a great show with Entombed, Ex-Order, Dead Horse. Like,
is that
3 bands
off the Law tour? Was that off the Law album for them, for Ex-Order?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We were just like, you know, 3 of our favorite bands at the time, you know, and Ex-Order was sitting there watching us do sound check. And when we got done, they were like hooting and hollering and shit. And we're like, holy fuck, man, this is the greatest moment of my life, you know, like to have the respecting my peers. I mean, that was amazing, like, and Dead Horse played when we loved them, and we gave them a shirt. He wore our Raped Ape shirt on stage. We were like, oh, wow, fanboying it out again. I got a lot of good stories, man. I got a story about Sepultura. Beneath the Remains tour, we got to open for them. And it was at that place, The Pit. And we're hanging out all day. We're going to open for Sepultura. We're there before they were there. We're waiting to meet them. Hung out with them all day. So we started playing foosball with them. And we go to play, and JP kisses the ball, puts it into play. And Max goes, hey, why you kiss ball? And JP goes, for luck. He goes, hey, maybe I kiss ball too. There's moments, man,
was there anybody who treated you guys like shit? When you're opening, like back in the day when you open, like, we've dealt with a lot of major bands. For myself, that when I, opening for bands, you have anybody that actually like kind of was a douche to you?
Not really, man. I mean, not that I can remember. Nothing really. Yeah. We were pretty much just like having such a great time and happy to do what we were doing, that if something did happen, we were just like, okay, well, whatever. I don't remember anything in particular. No, not really.
Was that what you missed the most, would you say, about being in Raped Ape? Was playing the shows, or was that like, would that be the biggest miss?
Yeah, definitely. We got to play with Forbidden one time, which I loved Forbidden. Death, we hung out with Chuck in Tampa, it was Orlando, and rode around in our band van, just smoking herb with Chuck, and just, again, fanboy moment. Just, I can't remember. I couldn't tell you what we were talking about, but it was great. It was like one of those, you never forget, So.
And you guys actually, for those, 2024, you guys will talk about the 30th anniversary reissue, which is crazy that it's 30 years.
Yeah.
Terminal Reality on Dive Bomb Records. So how did the ball start rolling on this? Like, when did you guys start discussing, hey, we should re-release this?
Well, I mean, working with Dive Bomb Records, I would say the biggest impetus for that was Solstice. They put the Solstice album out, and we were like, oh, cool. So I think JC might have got together and talked with them. But that's another thing. Solstice, man. If anybody hasn't heard them, you don't know what you're missing. That album is probably my favorite. That's my favorite Florida band, like hands down for me. Like that's an amazing record. But yeah, Solstice was. We saw that. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, man. So Dive Bomb was into it. So we did the first one. They put that out, and this time it was like, I think it was Dive Bomb's idea. Matt was like, we want to put out Terminal, like a 500 CD limited edition. And then I told JC, and he's like, it's the 30th anniversary of it. And Matt didn't know that or whatever, and was like, hey, man, he's like, oh, cool, the 30th anniversary, perfect. It's perfect timing. So that's how we decided to do it. And me and JC were talking. We're like, well, the idea came up of doing a remix, and I'm like, well, if they're going to remix it, we can do Seen Not Heard, because that's never been on anything. It'll make it even that more special. So that's, once we got that idea, we were like, oh man, this will be great, so yeah.
And you guys had Scott Burns to some liner notes for you guys on that also?
Yeah, man. So JC was like, I'm going to try to get a hold of him. I had seen that he had just done something with Kelly Schaefer, and I was just like, oh wow, I thought, man, he's never going to do anything else again, and he did that. What's Kelly's new band? Kelly Schaefer's band from Atheist?
Feel the Dirt.
Yeah, it's great. A killer song that I heard. I really dig it. So, I told JC, I said, yeah, Scott did something with him, and maybe we can get a hold of him. So JC contacted More Sound, or somebody, or I don't know who he contacted, honestly. I mean, is there still More Sound? Does it still exist?
So they moved it somewhere else, because Ed's been recording there, actually. Where'd they move it to?
It's recorded in Tampa. It's over in Seminole Heights. It's kind of It was in Temple Terrace before, so it's near Busch. Let's just say about 5 minutes from Busch Gardens.
Oh, okay. So I guess he contacted like Tom or Jim Morris or somebody there and was like, "Hey, can you relate us to Scott Burns that we're doing this re-release and if he could say something?" He was like, "Yeah." He wrote back, "Yeah, definitely. I'll write something about it." So yeah, we were stoked to hear that. We're like, wow, that's great.
Are they gonna like? Is there any chance for vinyl on that or anything like that? Or are you guys just gonna stick with the CDs?
We're yeah, we're talking about it. We're gonna try. I think right now they want to let the CDs sell or whatever, but we'd great to get it on vinyl. We would love to have that. Yeah.
And are you going to do? Because I know you did a lot of like with the Raped Ape back in the day. You were doing a lot of the flyers and the artwork and stuff. Are you going to do T-shirt designs for this also?
No, not for this one. But I did the cover that I did, which so the original cover was airbrushed. Now I do digital stuff in Procreate on my iPad. So I created that digitally, but it's just like pretty much like painting, but digital painting. I made prints of that, so 12 by 12 album cover size. So there's no vinyl yet, but if people want that cover, they can get a print of it. So.
And where do you sell those at your shop or is it online too?
Yeah, I sell them. It's alteredstatetattoo.com. And if you go to the store there, they're in there. So.
And you guys, what is the Raped Ape webpage? I know you do have official webpage.
Well, there's the Facebook. The Facebook is mainly what we use. Yeah, just Raped Ape on Facebook. But the actual website, I hate to say it, but I don't even really think we do much with it. But if it is, it'd be rapedape.com.
Okay. And you guys are going to do, as you guys do no shows for this. This is pretty much like just a release, right? Obviously the band's not back together. So I know some people were asking, hey, is Raped Ape going to do some gigs and stuff? But this is just pretty much what it is.
Yeah, not this time around. It's just not possible. People live other places and everybody's really busy. So yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah. And you said you're still jamming a little bit, right? You still are making some music on the side.
Yeah. We got the Ferocious Stones thing going, which we haven't done much lately. But I just talked to somebody today, my cousin who plays drums, who I sent him some of the songs, and he seems interested. So he's a good drummer. So we'll see. It may work out with him. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, dude, we really appreciate you coming on the show, man. I know that, you run the shop in the day, and I'm sure we kept you for a while tonight, but we had a lot of stuff we wanted to talk to you about because they're really.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
No, that's great, man. Because, there's not tons of Raped Ape information out there really, actually. So it's kind of cool to actually hear from you guys and hear some of the history of the band, I know when you guys started doing this 30th.
I'm stoked that anybody even still cares about it, honestly. So yeah, man, my pleasure.
I was excited, dude, because like I said, I guess technically I have history because we played shows. So, it's cool. It's cool to see that, the music still lives after all this time, man. That's what's great.
Definitely, man. It's good seeing you.
Hell yeah. For sure. I wish you lived closer, man. I'd love to get some tattoos.
Anytime you come down this way, let me know, man. I'll tattoo you. Yeah,
that's looking for a BH tattoo, right?
Yeah.
I have I don't know if you can see my thumb. Is the BH pick?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
The Eddie Van Halen pick, the red, black, and white.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When he passed away, I got that, man. That was like paramount. I'm like, man, I gotta have that. And I was like, what can I do? I was gonna do a guitar. I was like, you know what? A pick with the colors, the stripes on my picking hands. So,
hell yeah!
One of my favorite tattoos. It's so small, but man, really, it's one of my favorites.
Meaningful.
Yes, definitely.
That's like, man, I got the Alice Cooper eyes, man, on my. And to me, like, that was one of my favorite artists, man. I'm like, I don't, it's probably people don't even realize who the hell's eyes it is, but for me, it's like, I know what it is.
Yeah, cool.
That's all that matters is what it is.
I know what it is, but and Mike. Pooch, anywhere it's like, so we'll give out the address to the tattoo shop again. We'll give out any information you want to give out, man, where people can get a hold of you and get some work done by you. Or you actually have a webpage too, so I don't know if that's up to date or not, but you actually have a
I have PoochIsland.com, and there's prints and stuff on there available. So.
Okay. And the address again to your shop one more time, if you would.
The shop address is 10114 South Military Trail, Unit 116, Boynton Beach, Florida, 33436.
Cool, man. Again, dude, we really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. And we'll say goodbye to you while we're playing this song, actually. And this is the 30th anniversary reissue. Again, we're going to, that's out now. If you could pick it up, you can actually pick some up from your shop too, your tattoo shop.
Yes, copies. I have them there. Yep. Yeah.
Some copies are there. And we're going to, before we say goodbye, we're going to actually play, so we're going to play Mass Population, which is a tune I really dug. I think that was off the 94 Stuck demo, right? First.
That's inspired by Napalm Death, big time. That I was listening to a lot of Napalm at that time. Yep. So
we're going to play that, and we're going to say goodbye to you during that song. But again, man, anything you want to say on the way out? We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I mean, just thanks so much for having me on. Having this release out, we're real stoked to have the song "Seen Not Heard" and for everybody to hear it. So, you can get it from Dive Bomb Records, order it online. Thanks again for having me, man. Really, really stoked.
Oh yeah, it was awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Like I said, we'll say goodbye to you here in a second. To everybody else, this is Mass Population from Raped Ape off the 94 Stuck demo record. And we'll see you back on the Tampa Morgue after this.
Fucking day. No reason we should ignore all the myths. What more do I have to say? Day in and day out was the truth. Into the hole that we dug for ourselves. Eternity is shooting for us. Because we'd rather put our problems on the shelf. And anger I feel every time I look at you. You'd be better off not lending a hand. You got better things to do.
That was the song Mass Population from Raped Ape. And a big thanks to Pooch for hanging out with us on the Morgue tonight. Ed, how you doing, man? Let's, we really don't get a chance to catch up. How you, everything on your end going well?
It's
going... on the show. I mean, me and Ed talk all the fucking time, but I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it was a good interview, man. Killer interview.
Indeed, that's how we do it. We got we got Ryan Waste coming up on May 12th. So we'll be doing that one. That's the next thing scheduled, I think, after this. So we figure we'd just hang out for a little bit and, just catch up. Ed, what's been going on with you, man? Just, what's going on in Tampa?
Nothing. It's getting hot. It's getting fucking hot. Doing yard work. I don't like any of that.
Yeah.
None of it.
I'm imagining, I was talking to a couple family members today, said it's getting kind of brutal over there. Here, we just, for us here in Lithuania right now, it's beautiful. Like this whole weekend has been awesome weather-wise, and today's really nice. Well, today was really nice. But I definitely appreciate it because it was, the winters, like I said, they're a long one, I mean, the summers are beautiful, the springs are beautiful, but as you always say, but the winters last seems to be 8 months.
Yeah, this year was good because I don't mind it cold, but Arctic, like you live, I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not.
Yeah, I always compare it to what was it on Empire Strikes Back? Was it
Hoth?
Planet Hoth? Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of get that childhood flashback.
Yeah, that's brutal.
But you've been jamming. We were talking this week a little bit, off the show. So you were jamming the new Deicide.
Yeah. I've been listening to it at the gym. Obviously, we're friends with pretty much all those dudes. I just saw. I think everybody but Steve. I didn't see Steve at the Vader show when I went. I did see
that's
Glenn.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I saw Glenn.
Who was on that show?
Vader in Human Condition. Holy shit. Was it? I don't know. Was it Cataclysm? I don't remember because it changed because the tour was good, but the the venue had to come inside. It seems like every time In Human Condition plays at the Orpheum, they don't get to play the outside stage because weather. The first time I saw them there was with Deicide. They had to play inside because of the weather. And then
that's right. That was the first show with Taylor in Tampa, wasn't it?
It was. And then of course this show got moved inside and it never even rained, never even sprinkled. Because I know you haven't seen it. You haven't seen it yet. Yeah. The outside stage. So I've seen a couple of bands play there. I saw Carcass. And who else did I see? I saw one other band there outside, and it was I'm going, man, because
did you go to the Morbid Angel show there?
I did not.
Were you at that one?
I did not. I wished I was because after that drama,
that was there were some stories after that. Show.
There were a lot. God, I'm trying to figure out what the second show was because the first one definitely was Carcass, and thanks to Sam Molina, the guy who fills in on Monstrosity every now and then, he hooked me up with some fucking tickets.
Oh, that's right. I remember
because he couldn't go, and I was trying to buy tickets, and he's like, "Dude, here, take these," and I was like, "Fuck, that was awesome." But yeah,
do you prefer the new Orpheum over the old Orpheum?
Yes, only because it's bigger. You can move around a lot easier. If you remember, we've talked about seeing Creator, and when it gets, so that fucking door at the old one at the in Ybor City. You know how when we played there, we could go out the back door. Yeah, because as a band, or the back door because we had the passes to go in and out. We always were able to do that, but they don't do that there. So, you can walk around the club, and what's cool is if the show is inside, you can still navigate outside to hang out where it's a little cooler, and the outside area it's just way bigger.
There's two stages, right? You said there's one inside,
one outside. Which, dude, if they wanted to do some sort of a festival, you could have rotating stages and literally fucking kill it.
Do you remember when the Foo Bar and 662 used to do that? Because they were the two venues. So these were two venues in St. Petersburg, Florida, that were right next to each other. For whoever's not from that area, we used to play there. The last couple of years that we were really active, jamming a lot with Generic Christ and Flesh Reaper, we were playing these venues. They were great venues in St. Pete. That whole block, the Central Avenue block, was great at that time period. You had that. You had the State Theater across the street, which is I keep on forgetting the new name of it, like the St. Pete Yacht Club or some shit like that. But so you had the 662 venue, and then you had the Foo Bar, and they would do festivals together as two different venues, basically. But they would use each other's. It would be like the one band would play on the one venue stage, and then it was flip over to the other venue for the next, because the whole block was like a block party all the time.
Right.
It was always, shitloads of people out there hanging out, eating a lot of little food places around there and stuff and drinking places. And I thought it was very cool. I thought that downtown St. Pete, I don't know if it was probably, I want to say maybe 2020, 2021, maybe that time period. That. Was it before that even?
Yeah, because that was COVID time you're talking about, man. That's how.
So it was pre-COVID time.
Yeah, so we're talking more like 18, 19 is when we were running hard with it.
It was great there. Like that whole, you would go down and play. There was a lot of punk bands. Like, you had the Scurvy, Mosquito Teeth. Mosquito Teeth used to bring, they always brought a shitload of people to those shows. And it was just it was a cool thing down there. And I know, actually Brandon, who is basically with if they do anything, he's with the Murder Junkies now, with Merle Allen and them. He's also a Scurvy guy, and he drove for the Murder Junkies forever. He actually just worked on your house too, Ed.
He did a killer fucking job, man. Brandon's real deal. He's one of those guys that'll he'll punch you in the fucking mouth if you ain't acting right, because I've seen it. People acting stupid at shows and thinking they're tough guys, and then but he's also a class act, dude. He'll fucking help you. How many times he helped us with shows? He's just a great dude, man.
Brandon was always supportive.
I was happy
on those splits.
I was happy when he got the fucking Murder Junkie deal. As much as how I feel about the shows we did with them, but
see, I don't mind the whole Gigi Allen thing, but I know Ed, when we used to do
shows. Oh no, it wasn't so much. It was the thing I
awkward situations like
those were a little fucking rough, but yeah,
Brandon, I feel bad for him though, because he gets the gig with the Murder Junkies, and then I think Merle had a bike accident or something happened with him.
He got hit by a car, man, or something like that, and he's to my understanding, he's still having like head things, something with his head, or they don't know, because I was just talking with Brandon when he was fixing my house about that, and they're still trying to figure it out, which sucks, man, because, I could just imagine, like, getting in a band. Like, I can imagine teching for, I'll throw out a band, Obituary. We know John would never, we know nothing would ever happen to John, but I'm just throwing it out. I'm driving them dudes all over creation for years. Yeah. And then I have the opportunity to fucking go on a tour and sing. And then fucking Trevor gets hit or something, whatever. Pick one of them. It would suck. You know what I mean? It would.
And then Brandon was so stoked for that shit because he was.
And we know he worked because he was using his dudes from the Scurvy and from
Mosquito Teeth.
And all them guys were acting as if they were the junkies, getting him ready, man. And he put in a lot of work, man. And hopefully it still fruits. Something for him.
He does get it because he did, and that, he also plays with Dwayne Rollick, who's another great guitar player that me and you have done some stuff with on the Flesh Reaper records.
Yep.
That guy's a great player, and I know it was going to be him, Brandon, obviously Dino and Murrow and stuff. So I was bummed out for Brandon. I remember he drove us. To Miami to play, and he had the Murder Junkies van that he was driving around.
Yep.
That was not a clean van. Was,
old red. Yeah. He had old red.
Old red.
Yeah, man. Now he's driving old blue.
Blue.
I mean,
I don't even know. Is it driving? I don't know if it's driving right now. Is it?
Not red. Red's gone. Yeah, okay. He's got the blue one now. But yeah, I mean, those clubs were definitely were killer, and I truly believe the Orpheum could do something like that, because didn't the Mug do that, where they had the little small stage set up and they were doing kind of
remember the Mug had the front back, they had the backstage, and then the front one that we by the door where whoever was working the door that time period.
I
think the only thing about the old Orpheum that I did like was that it was a place where I noticed that after the shows you would see people would just go out, because there was like Boneyard and some of those other bars around there,
right.
So I do think that's one thing that was cool, but I haven't been to the new one. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Parking really see sucks if you don't get there early. Like I lucked out the Vader show, man, because I took my son, because Terry Butler always comes through for her brother, and I got there. He's like, "Yeah, man, we're here. We're just chilling." And I remember fucking parking lot was full, and I was like, what the fuck? And here was a car pulling out. I pull in, and there was one fucking parking space. And I was like, fuck yeah, we parked right in it. I was like, goddamn, otherwise you're parking across the street. And I always worry, even though the weekends that those businesses are closed, I don't want to park there and come out and see that my car's been fucking towed, you know?
Yeah.
And I know Danny and some of those guys said they were parking at the Mug and walking. And I'm like, yeah, that's too far, man. I mean, it's a good distance. It's a good distance. Not, it's probably a eighth of a mile walk from one to the other.
So they did, and they just booked that. We were talking about it off the show, the Suffocation, right? They booked Suffocation and Morbid Angel there. I think that's where that show is going to be.
Yep. What is it called? The
is it the 15th? I got to double check that.
What
I believe it's November 15th. I'm going to check right now to see if I can make sure it's November 15th.
I saw that they're also playing Orlando.
It's not the Conduit, right? I haven't been in the Conduit since it was the Haven, so I don't remember it being that big.
I don't know where. I didn't see. Hard Rock.
Oh, okay, the Hard Rock.
Yeah, which I was almost hoping. I think maybe it's not the Hard Rock. I thought it was. Somebody's playing. I don't know. There's 2 tours that I've been looking at, personally to go see, and
I can't remember who's. I know that the one show's at the Orpheum. I know
Devastation on the Nation tour. That's what it's called.
Okay, and is it November 15th that show? The one in Tampa.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's very. It was weird because it's like it went out, and then all of a sudden, dude, everybody was posting that shit. Yeah, it's definitely. I want
to say it's November 15th, I believe, because I saw the flyer earlier.
I'll probably, that's one of those ones where, yeah, I think you're right.
It is November 15th. Okay,
I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's fucking killer, man.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Morbid Angel since. To be honest, I can't even tell you when. It's probably been over. Maybe it was at the Orpheum, the Orpheum over in Ybor. It might have been the last time, I believe. So it's definitely over 10 years. Everything jumps ahead so fast now. But just speaking of that.
They're not playing Orlando, so I guess it starts in Tampa.
Oh, so that's just going to be packed. But how much is the ticket for that now?
Doesn't even say, man. So because they haven't gone on sale yet.
Let's guess before. I'm saying it's going to be after fees. I think you're going to pay $80. I think
after $45. I don't know. Maybe
you got like 6 bands on there, don't you? And obviously some of them we may not know.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
It's still the Orpheum. I don't know. $45.
So you're saying $45. I'm going to say. What did I say? 85. I'm going to say 80 after you tap out. After like your fees and all that bullshit. You'll probably get to 80, I think. It'll be like 70 something.
I'll be watching from YouTube.
Exactly. But so the Banished by Sin record, what'd you think of it?
Which record?
Banished by Sin? Deicide?
Dude, I remember we talked right after I got home from the gym. Pretty much right after. I mean, you got to remember, I didn't realize, I forgot it came out that day. And,
I didn't know either. I totally.
And every so often, a lot of times I listen to Rogan at the gym. Not really get a cool pump, but a lot of, if it's during the day, I'll listen to Rogan. In the morning, I try to listen to more shit because I'm 5 o'clock in the morning. I need something to get my shit motivated. And I always go to the new releases on Spotify, and then I saw it and I was like, oh shit. And I immediately started playing it and I was like, holy shit. And I remember telling you, I'm like, Glenn's vocals sounded fucking, in my opinion, this is the best he sounded in the last couple releases. Not that he was bad, but I'm a fan of the first 2 or 3 records. Kind of that's, if you remember, everybody used to say, oh, Glenn Benton, you sound like Glenn Benton when I was younger. I'm like, yeah, fuck out of here. But I was a fan of that vocal, the double, but he's crushing
he was one of the first guys. We were talking about this, me and you, that, he was actually one of the first dudes, if I remember correctly, when I was reading that Scott Burns book, to actually do that, to layer those vocals like that. I mean.
So, funny enough, I forgot the interview he did, and I saw another clip of it. And when I hear Prater, he did it when I was doing the Monstrosities, break out the Cobra. That's what they called it.
That's his line.
That was his line. That was Scott Burns' line, is the Cobra, because it was the double vocals like that.
He would say that to me too when we were recording. Yeah,
break out the Cobra, man.
And you knew what it meant.
Yeah. So, but you forget, you know what I mean? It's so long ago that I forgot that was a thing. But yeah, no, I mean, Taylor obviously shreds, Kevin shreds, fucking Steve is kicking, fucking playing drums like, I mean, he's fucking killing it. I thought it was a good record, man. Probably.
And I think everyone wrote, right? I think there was a lot of
everybody had songs.
So their hands in something.
Yeah, because when I was on the cruise, I was talking to Taylor, and he told me that when they got back, I think it was when they got back, or maybe while we were out, they were releasing songs. So he was like, yeah, this song video was his song. This is his song. This is our songs coming out this day. So everybody had a hand in writing, which is killer, because that's how you get a very open record, in my opinion. Because if one guy writes something, it kind of just sounds, you can tell it's stagnant. Like, and I again, no disrespect when I say this, but like the Kerry King, you know who wrote that, because it sounds like fucking Slayer, and every riff sounds like a fucking Kerry King riff because he wrote it. So you know, but when I hear these songs, I couldn't tell you who wrote what, because I hear In Human Condition and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a fucking Taylor riff. But then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not a Taylor riff. That's a Kevin riff. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah, no, it's a good record, man. I like it. I dig it.
And you also checked out I know you're a High on Fire guy.
Yeah, I've liked them since they first came out. I remember seeing them in the early days. I'm also a huge Mastodon fan too. So I remember seeing them. I want to say it was Slayer played in High on Fire, Mastodon, and wasn't Crowbar. It was the other band that always fucking, I can't think of who it was now. But it was like a whole tour full of those type of bands. And I saw High on Fire, like that was the early days. And I was like, I realized, I'm like, hey, that's the dude from fucking Sleep. And I kind of was a Sleep fan, but you know, if you were into Black Sabbath, you kind of probably dug them. I liked it because it was just heavy. You know what I mean? But I can remember that one video on the fucking, remember on MTV or whatever, and it was just the same riff over and over and over, and the guy sounded like fucking Ozzy, and I was just like, okay, this is fucking, it's like 8-minute songs, and I'm just like, I can't. I lose, dude. I've always been ADD. You know, 8-minute songs is just.
Well, didn't we see High on Fire again at the, going back to the Orpheum? Didn't we see them in the Orpheum? Like probably that was probably, everything seems like about 10 years ago now. That
it
I'm
probably was.
About
it was like 2015. Yeah, they crushed, man. Matt Pike is he. Yeah, you know, for a 3-piece band, they fucking crush. So yeah, their new record came out, and I was happy. I like it. You know, there's a couple other things that came out. You found a couple of other ones too.
Well, the thing I was talking to you about this, that the Cavalera Conspiracy did they re-recorded, you know, the Sepultura. I mean, not the Sepultura. Yeah, the Sepultura, yeah. Escape to the Void, you know, from the Schizophrenia record over again. I didn't even know they were going to do that. I mean, I know they did. What was it, in 2023? They did the Morbid Visions over again. So I knew they did that, but I didn't know they were going to start doing the Schizophrenia album, which I'm thinking they're going to do the whole thing. And I love that record. I mean, that was actually like when I was a kid, like, I really dug that. You had Rest in Pain on there. You had Troops of Doom. That was just a killer record. I just don't know if you have to re-record it. I guess that was and it does sound killer, just like the Morbid Vision sounded killer. But like, what do you think about that? Is that something you have to re-record?
The only thing I would, I don't know, maybe. The production on those weren't the greatest, so maybe that's why. You know, you can't really remix something if it wasn't recorded. Because remember, they were in Brazil for those records. They didn't come here until Beneath the Remains, till they got signed to do more sound. So,
I think I learned to love those sounding of those records.
I did too.
So
I did too. You know, but it's weird because I was having a conversation with Bryce because he's got my old truck. He wants to put his system in it. And we were going through all my old vehicles, which I didn't realize how much of a fucking car whore I really was. My dad used to call me an idiot. My mom used to say, you like throwing money away, because I would buy cars. I would buy a car and take the motor out of it and put it in another one and do the same. It was like a revolving cycle, dude. It's almost like changing underwear. And I remember when I first had my first vehicle was a brand new truck at 17 years old. And I remember my buddy sold me these speakers, and he's like, my buddy owns a cabinet shop. I went over there, and he's like, he made these custom boxes and custom set these speakers in my truck. And I remember buying the South of Heaven. I had it on record. Can't play a record in a car. So I remember going to Trax Records, I think it was, or whatever the hell it was, bought the tape, put it in my truck, and was driving home. And I'll never forget, because South of Heaven starts real low. Yep. And then when it kicks in, it's just fucking like massive. And when it kicked in, I thought my windshield was going to explode out of my car. And I remember pulling into my neighborhood 3 blocks away, and I pull up, and my dad's like, you're a fucking idiot. Why are you going to play that shit that loud? He goes, I could hear you from fucking 3 blocks away. So that sound from back then, you can't, the systems that we had then aren't like the speakers we have today. Everything's 8K and fucking this, that, and the other. So of course, when you put on an old record, it's not going to sound, because I put on Bonded by Blood, because I told Bryce we got to watch Murder in the Front Row, because as you know, I told you and you watched it.
Yeah, I'd only watched half of it, and I don't know what happened. And then when you mentioned it, I went back and rewatched it again.
Yeah, so I put on Bonded by, and he goes, wow, that sounds so weird. And I'm like, yeah, because it was recorded in 1986, dude. I mean, 1986, you're talking almost 40 fucking years ago it was recorded. So
not crazy. I mean,
it is. And I think about
nuts.
Like my dad's system that, had a fucking giant knobs on it, and it was all analog and fucking, all it was a fucking receiver.
Those big glass doors.
Yeah, man.
Glass doors on those players.
And you were happy to hear it. I remember like when you couldn't even put record on a tape. Like I remember playing Journey. Like my dad had the Journey record, and I wanted it on tape so I could listen to it, and putting the boom box next to the speaker and just pushing record. Yeah. And you hear all the background noises of people walking and shit, because
people won't even know that charm anymore.
No, man, you don't know the struggle. Even Discmans riding around and it's skipping.
They're fucking pain in the asses, man. You on a bicycle when those things are fucking bouncing off your knee. It's like
I told Bryce when we were listening to the Slayer, after I was trying to explain to him, after Mandatory Suicide on tape, we would have to wait till the tape flipped over, and then Ghost of War comes on. And it was like, he's like, why does it sound the beginning of a record? Because remember, it was low, and then that song kicks in. And I'm like, that's because that was side B on the cassette tape. So you will never know the struggle of side B on a fucking tape, bro.
Pencil inside the tapes. And, I still have a bunch of tapes.
I found the whole box in my shed.
I'm afraid to see, the thing is, if you play them, there's a good possibility they're just going to fucking shred on you. So,
oh yeah. Well, it's funny. I found one that says, Diabolic New Record. Scratch. It was the second record that I did all the vocals on.
That would sell on Discogs. You would be fucking getting some top dollar for that.
I'm trying to find a way to, I don't even have a fucking tape player, dude. Like I thought I had an old Walkman. I don't. And I know what it is. It's because we did pre-production for the Subterranean Magnitude record with me doing all the, I wrote all the lyrics. I fucking had everything arranged. And then we did the Cannibal tour. And then that was the end of that. So, yeah.
I still have those recordings then.
I do. I found it. It said fucking, when I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. Because it even had all the
send some offers to the.
It even had the cover tunes we did for all those Dwell records. The fucking Destruction and all those cover tunes we did. So yeah, I know what it is, and I was like, holy shit, man, I want to hear this so bad.
It's funny you mentioned tapes. I got I got a package from Snowy Shaw last week, and he sent a VHS tape in it. Like they actually put out VHS tape still. I was like, they had was it Notre Dame, And I was like, I don't have anything to play it on. I have tape, I have the whole, I have the record player, I have all that kind of stuff. And, I actually have a record player right by me. I even have a tape player. But, I don't, VHS, don't have it. That's my phone, actually, everyone buzzing in the corner. Sorry about that. But, yeah, so I was surprised when Snowy sent me that. I'm like, damn, a VHS tape. I'm like,
I don't even know, because I had one and I think it's in storage somewhere. It was the VHS to compact disc burner, where you could dub to compact disc from VHS and vice versa. It was a and or, because it was a burner and it played the compact disc if you wanted to put it on VHS. I have it. I don't know where it is. It's got to be somewhere in storage somewhere. And I'm thinking, man, that is such a lost technology. I mean, hell, I was trying to clean up my plugs and my stereo, and I pulled out my Blu-ray player, and I'm like, fucking, you can unhook this. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you the last time.
Throw it next to your Laserdisc player. Yeah, remember those?
Wow. The Blu-ray is still something. But the thing is, now all the video game consoles are Blu-ray. So you can literally have a PlayStation 4, 5, or an Xbox. I think the new Xbox, they all play Blu-rays. So you can have like the whole combo thing and have one thing.
Yeah, see, we have it's technology is just changing so much, and we're gonna just imagine like 10 years the shit we're gonna see. Like,
dude, we're gonna be doing podcasts from like just pushing our wrist, and it's gonna shoot up a video camera, and we're gonna be able to fucking record that way.
Yeah, well, we went, so we have a new vehicle coming to the house tomorrow. My wife picked up she bought a new truck that she wanted, a new, I guess you would say like a 7-seater, whatever. But I said to her, I go, it's funny that like I used to, for the last couple of years when I would get into a new vehicle, I would always know there's no CD player in it. Now I just know. You don't even have to look
because everything's CarPlay and Android Auto.
Yeah, it's, so I don't even look anymore. But I thought it was kind of weird. I was like, wow, I don't even look for it. I remember when tape players weren't around anymore. I was kind of shocked by that. Then I went to CD, and now CDs are done pretty much. You can sell them at shows and stuff, but mostly everyone's streaming everything or downloading it. So, and you mentioned albums coming out. What else did we say there was, Ed, before we? I got a couple of letters here from some people, some questions that they had sent us for the last month and a half. Dark Throne beckons us all.
The new Accept. Which, if you're in rock metal.
Yeah, and Humanoid, I think that's in Napalm Records, which is the same thing as the DSI, the same label. Hakovitz put out one out of Mexico on Moribund. And I saw it. So we were talking about Terrifier 3. They announced it'll be out October 11th. Anybody who hasn't heard our interview with David Howard Thornton, it was episode number 14. He was on with us for about 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't remember exactly what it was. Long time, but new Terrifier. So that comes out October 11th, which is going to be. It's nice that it's out for the Halloween season because I thought it should have been. I think the last one, part 2, didn't come out in October. I forget what month it actually came out in, but those kind of movies should come out. Because that's going to give it the most love, I think, and the most and I think it's going to do fine anyway. Because I said this when I saw part 1, especially when I saw part 2. This is going to be one of those movies that 20 years from now, people will talk about Art to Clown. Whether you love them or not, I'm a fan of those movies. I know, Ed, you were a fan of them too when we watched them.
Yeah, I went to the theater to rewatch the second one.
Yeah, so this guy's not this character's not going away. This is going to become, to me, it's a pretty iconic character, and I haven't seen one in a long time. And I think Art to Clown is just perfect. And I've never been scared of clowns. I never was a clown kind of guy, but just David Howard Thornton plays that role. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he pulls it off for a horror villain, fucking monster like Jason or Michael Myers that says absolutely nothing. To fucking own the screen like that. It just fucking. But his mannerisms, where like Jason and Michael Myers, they just make a stab. Like they're gonna fucking stab you, where this dude fucking does he makes mannerisms with his hands and does all kinds of crazy shit. Yeah, it's perfect, man. He's yeah. No, it'll be a cult classic, man.
Speaking of characters, you saw who else is coming back, right? In 2025. If this is, I've seen a trailer for it, so I'm considering this to be 100% legit. Freddy Krueger. They're doing a Nightmare on Elm Street in 2025, and that Millie Bobby Brown is going to be the main actress in it, if everything I saw is correct.
Sometimes I weird out with those fucking
and not Robert
trailers.
Englund. Let me add that. Not Robert Englund.
Yeah, no.
It sucks. I mean, I get it, but
he's getting a little old. The last one wasn't bad. It's just they really, I think they missed the mark just a little bit with it. But
and Robert Englund was the best, man. How could you really? I mean, how do you replace him? He really owned the character. Like, he's one of those guys that were, like, you talk about David Howard Thornton, who definitely owns, Art the Clown 100%. You have to say the same thing about Robert Englund, because, with Leatherface, you had Gunnar Hansen, you had a couple of different Leatherfaces, you had a couple, and Jason, you've had a shitload of them. You've had a bunch of different actors play that role, but, like, I don't know if you've had two Art the Clowns. There was one in the early before David Howard got involved, so there was one prior, but I don't know if there's two characters that are not owned as much by the actor that plays them as Freddy Krueger was with Robert Englund,
right?
And then David Howard Thornton. And I remember going to Spooky Empire a couple years ago, and Robert Englund was there, and it was crazy, man. I mean, it was like lines out the door, people in lines for hours, like 15 hours, all day waiting to meet Robert Englund. So it's pretty impressive. And I've been to some of those conventions, of course, and there's some actors like Bruce Campbell and guys like that who the fans come out for them. It's such a loyal thing.
Oh, for sure. Just like, there's a couple characters I wish wouldn't have, how I want to say it, been killed off, or, could have found a way to stay around, like the House of 1,000 Corpses. Those characters were fucking great, man.
Otis Driftwood.
Oh, yeah, those guys were just great. I know there's nothing you could do with
Sid Haig.
Yeah, because he fucking obviously, sadly passed
away.
Well,
he knew. He was so sick during that last movie when they were filming it.
You could see it too.
Yeah, it's kind of like there was another movie too, which I'm gonna. There was another movie where the actor knew he was actually in really bad health when he was doing it. I just can't remember what the hell it was. So, but yeah, I mean,
a lot of people. David Bowie on that last record, he knew
that last video. Last video was pretty fucked up. And I mean. Bowie, I think Bowie's great. I thought Bowie was great when I was a kid. That there was a Soylent Green. The actor from that knew he was going to pass away when he was in during that film.
Yep.
Like, he knew he was sick and not doing well. If I remember.
What's his name? The dude from the dude that played Black Panther. He fucking too. He knew he was sick, and he talk about, like, to know you're fucking dying. And still pull off a fucking epic, movie is great, man. More
I know, if I get the word,
they leave a legacy, man. That's the key, man.
Totally. And with guys like Christopher Lee and stuff like that, you just never forget these guys, because they left that mark. Vincent Price, guys like that.
What the one dude say? I'd rather go out on my fucking on my feet than on my knees.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. Instead of laying it up in a hospital bed until the fucking the bottom falls out, they fucking they kept going, man. And I there's been a lot of I'm sure there's a lot of musicians that probably did it and never said anything.
We were talking about that, me and my wife's, so we were just having this conversation, actually. My wife's grandfather passed away 2 years ago. And he didn't want, that was his request. Just keep me at home. Don't bring me to the hospital. He knew he was on his way out. He was just getting to the 90s, which is, hey, I mean, that's crazy. But that was his thing. He didn't want to go to the hospital. My mother was a hospice nurse, so I know how, and I've been through the hospice process with people before. It's fucking brutal. It's that's some real life for you right there.
Yeah.
It's like a smack in the,
just watching people fade away, man.
Yeah, and it's just the whole process, and it's pretty much the death rattles and all that stuff. It's, unfortunately, that's all part of the process, and it's not a grim one. It's not a happy one, but so cheer everyone who's listening still to the show tonight. We're here to cheer you up. Now, we got some letters, man, from people who have written us for the last couple weeks. So I wanted to get those in there. We were supposed to do them, I think, 2 weeks ago, but we kind of went through a period where we had a bunch of guests. We had like 3 guests in 1 week, I think, because it's always like feast or famine. You just, we book around schedules, so it kind of winds up like it is. We do have some more people coming on that we're going to announce once we get the schedule figured out with them. We just want to make sure everything's correct, because you're working around basically 3 people scheduled with me, Ed, and the guest. So it's, so this first one, Ed, is, I told you we're gonna make a whole like sounder for this thing eventually. I'm gonna have a nice little intro to the mail section, because I have some ideas. I gotta try to get into the production side of things. But so this guy says here, this is Dan from Denver. Thanks for the podcast. Always look forward to new episodes. What was a band that you saw live that let you down? Also a band that surprised you live. I'll let you go first, Ed.
Oh shit. A band that I saw that let me down.
I'll say mine first because mine's pretty, and this is nothing against the band, and I was never a big fan, so I didn't dig deep into their catalog, and I've told Ed this story actually. And like I said, man, it's nothing against the Opeth. I saw Opeth, and I remember I told you this, and I just, I don't leave many shows early, and I think this one I was just like, I just wasn't into it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was, as a surprise, I actually got to say Behemoth, because on record I was never like, I wasn't always like a Behemoth guy, and every time I've seen them live, they've been impressive. We saw them with Tribulation, if you remember, over at the old, which is still there, the Janus Landing. And I have to say, every time I've seen them, they've been impressive, and I guess kind of surprised me a little bit. But Opeth would be my pick for, and that's nothing against them. I mean, they're great musicians. I just it wasn't my thing that night. Maybe it was me.
I mean, Opeth is kind of one of those bands anyway that they kind of fluctuate on the style. So a lot of people dig them or they don't. There's a couple bands like that. Man, that's a hard question, man. Because I can think of a couple times where I was excited to see. I mean, like on the cruise, I'll go, and this was purely sound. It had nothing to do with the band.
Are you going to say FF? Because I'm going to agree if that's what it is.
No, I could do that one too.
That was rough on the cruise. That was rough on the cruise.
There were 2 of them. I'll go. That's a tie, because Fear Factory when we saw them on the cruise was pretty bad, and that was because of alcohol, fucking drunkenness. Burton. I love Burton's vocals, man. I've always have, but he was fucking hammered. He got married too, I think, right coming onto that cruise, and every time I saw him, he was fucking hammered. In
all truth, I was never an FF guy, so I'm the Fear Factor. I'm the guy to ask, but I remember the sound was like it was a sound problem there. I thought
that was part of it, but his vocals sometimes he sounded shot, and the other one was believe it or not, I told you Sodom on this last. You were
telling me that
but it was, dude, the sound was absolute. I don't know what happened, dude, and it was this one stage, which was like one of the big stages there, because like there were 2 of them. I could go 2 of them on that cruise. Flesh Crawl was so fucking loud. Just picture Entombed on 19. 10's the shut off. We got in the elevator and we're on floor 10. And when I got out, now mind you, the stage is floor 2. On the same side of the
ballroom. Was that the ballroom?
Yeah, this is a different boat.
Different liner.
Okay. Different boat. Yeah. Say they call it the same name, but it's got 4 stages. But when we got up to 10, I could still hear it. That's how fucking loud they were, and it was like a tin can. But Sodom was probably, the Fear Factory. They're a close tie, and I truly believe the sound was probably why.
Because I saw Sodom last year, and they were fucking amazing. So I think and I've seen bands where the sound is fucked up like that, because when I saw them, they were great here.
Right, and I think probably like if I have to say something that like blew me away, and you were there, is when we saw Carcass on the boat, because I remember we saw
Surgical Steel period,
dude. They came out in that fucking main room and just absolutely fucking crushed.
We saw them 3 times that week. Actually,
we did.
We saw them twice on the cruise, and
then we saw them in Orlando. Remember
Behemoth, actually.
Remember when we saw them in Orlando, and we were like, dude, they fucking were way better on the cruise. So, but we were also fucking like right over the stage. So
and it's such a good, like, I remember
it's a hard question, man, because I've seen a lot of shitty shows and I've seen a lot of killer shows. So, but
and some, it's just the sound, so you don't want to like toss that. We've played shows where the sound might not be the best, so it's like you kind of there's some that you see that is total opposite, but it's like you said, we're on the cruise, you're right on top of everybody. Like you're pretty much right there, so it's definitely.
And a lot of these guys are bringing sound guys, so
yeah,
they should be able to get the sound, whatever.
What's so great about
and you got to remember too,
you were saying, right? They have a sound guy in the band who runs
right. You got to also remember, they sounded incredible that second show. But you got to remember, they have an hour because you got floating stages, so there's no reason not to get your sound close. You know what I mean? And it was, like I said, that was a letdown because I literally got up and walked out like 3 songs in. I was like, I can't do this, man. This sounds horrible. This is not Sodom. I saw them the first time on the boat and they were killer. That time I was like, no, I can't do it. It sucked, man, because I was like really excited to see them. That's probably, and again, nothing against the band. I truly believe it was sound, but that inhibits the experience, or I could go another one. We can go Creator at the fucking Orpheum because they were playing
that
Kempers.
Was a sound thing. Cause that was tough.
When we went out front, they sounded amazing.
Yeah.
But the point was it was like
brutal.
Yeah. So again, that's a hard question, man, because, if I would have had that question in advance, I probably could have sat down and went through all the shows I've seen and given you probably a real good answer. But
fortunately, we had it for 3 weeks. I should have said that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the first. Whoever wrote Dan from Denver. That's the first time I heard that shit. So just
Sorry,
giving
man.
that to you, buddy.
Sorry, Dan. I tried to do this show like 3 episodes ago. Shit started to happen. I think there was like stuff going on.
Tony sucks.
Yeah, it's my fault.
What's the next question?
Okay. Hello, Morgue. I have to thank you guys. No problem. I have never heard a metal interview show that dives as deep as you guys do. Cool. What is this here? I've done many business trips, road trips, listening to the Morgue. What artists outside of extreme music do you each listen to? And this is Stefan, I want to say, from Germany.
Oh. Outside of the extreme music, huh?
It's a lot of them. I think we listen to a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because as I've been talking to you, I've been revisiting fucking some old hairband shit that just, when I listen to it,
I love all the old 80s shit.
I do too, but like I drive around in the car and a lot of times my phone will connect. And if I'm listening to something, it usually just absolutely fucking, because I probably have it on 10 and it blows me away. So I leave it on Sirius. And usually I go through 3 channels on Sirius, sometimes 4. But I got Ozzy's Boneyard, Hair Nation, Liquid Metal, and then there's a new one called Turbo, which plays like, Mudvayne, Slipknot. I can tolerate a lot of that old shit because I kind of dug it growing up. But we were driving around. My wife likes Hair Nation. She's in the country now, so Hair Nation's like our safe space, because I'm not listening to country in my truck. I'm not listening to fucking country. In her car, we'll listen to whatever. It's her car. You don't touch another woman's fucking radio,
See, we have like in ours, we have the whole we both like Hank 3. We both like. We don't play country all the time, but there is times it may come on, and it's usually like Hank Williams Jr. III or Mike Ness when he did from Social Distortion when he did the
but that's a different thing. She listens to the country radio.
Pop country.
We'll be driving and stop somewhere and eat lunch, and we get in the car, and I hear the same song an hour later. It's because it's on rotation, man, and I just can't do it, man. And but yeah, so we were driving around, and Brittany Fox came on. And I fucking forgot all about that fucking band, dude. And I got engulfed. I like the way he screams, man. It's unique. It's kind
Dizzy Dean Davison.
And what's crazy is today I fell down the wormhole because YouTube must have been listening because it pulled up the What Happened to Brittany Fox, and I went, oh, and I watched it. And
put on his spandex.
I did, dude. And I come to find out, like, oh, these dudes were in Cinderella, and I'm like, forgot about that.
There was a whole thing there. Yeah, like
yeah, two of them.
I think the drummer got fired or something like that from Cinderella, replaced or something like that.
The guitar player and drummer were in Cinderella, and they told Cinderella, if you want to get signed, Tom Kiefer and the other dude, get rid of them. So they did, and hence
they looked exactly the same. If you look at the band pictures of those time periods, I mean, it's like they got dressed by the same.
Brittany Fox actually they were talking about how they made their wardrobe around the old French Revolution with the ruffles.
Jerry Seinfeld pirate shirts.
Yes, that was it. So, but yeah, I went down the wormhole and I come to find out, 2 records they made, but I'm like, we listened to a lot of 90s shit, but that stuff was different. You know what I mean? It wasn't your typical Motley Crue. It was basically a heavier Cinderella. That's what I thought. And I like Cinderella. I mean, I liked all that shit.
They were a Jersey band too, of course.
They were. Okay.
Well, the thing with Dizzy Dean Davis, and you speak of he actually like went on to do like I think country music and a bunch of all that stuff, and he left that whole. I think he did. He did do a band after Fox. I just forget. Black Eyed Susan, I think it was
that's
called,
what
or
it was
something
called.
like
Yep.
that. Yeah, something like that.
There's a rumor, bro. I don't know if you saw the rumor, but they may bring back Brittany Fox next year with the original lineup.
If it's original, hey, I just don't. And nobody seems original anymore. But for me, I would have to say, like, as you know, the Dwarves. I'm a big punk fan. I like all the old Dwarf stuff. Blood Guts Pussy, which I think was like 1990, was like really got me into them, and they've changed a lot now. I mean, but I always dug them. Anything Alice Cooper is the artist I've seen the most. I always go see Cooper. I'm a big Cooper fan. We talk about David Bowie, anything from that. I really was a big fan of the Ziggy Stardust period, that whole thing. That music from that time period. Like I said, Thin Lizzy. I don't know. The Descendants. Actually, that was when I was a big Descendants fan growing up. I still like the Descendants. So we listen to stuff outside of metal because as much as I love it and play in metal bands, and you do too. It's like I can't I need that whole separation of where I can't listen to the same thing all the time. So I have a lot of friends who can only listen to or not a lot, but I do have friends who are like, I only listen to black metal, or I only listen to brutal death metal, or I only listen to this. For me, I have to mix it up. I definitely have to.
Yeah, and we've talked about how I lived across the street from the skateboarders, so they introduced me to all the punk and hardcore, which I grew up on. I was a big agnostic front fucking dude, and Crumbsuckers.
Sick of it all.
And what's crazy is, later on running into the guitar player from the Crumbsuckers when he joined the Jenna Torturers, and he was working at Guitar Center, and I was fucking hanging out with him, and it's like, you relive that. The Accused, we had Blaine on.
Blaine Cook.
So, I mean, those are, I don't consider that extreme. That's a different side.
I don't even know what extreme is anymore, man. Is extreme just I know what it is, but there's just so many different, what do you call it? There's just so many different versions of what people, there's grind, there's slam. I mean, it took,
I'll be honest with you, I'll get clowned. But my wife and because Bryce never seen him, and Tristan.
I saw Willie Nelson.
We saw Willie Nelson, but I just bought tickets for something that's going to be absolutely fucking hilarious. And I you know what? I saw them years and years ago, and they were killer. But
Village People.
No, close. We're going to see fucking Durst and the Limp Bizkit, bro.
Oh my god,
dude! My boy, Tristan wants to go, and Gina wants to go, and I said, you know what? If I go see Willie Nelson, what do I give a shit? $20. They were $20 tickets, and I'm like, you know what? There's a couple other bands that are playing that are pretty good. So it's going to be an experience, man. I mean,
I don't know what it is. Me and Ev talked about this a million times because, we always talk about music all the time. There's one band I never understood. I could not stand that fucking band, but they were huge. I mean, I just, something about, there's just too much. I remember the first when Deftones first came out, their first album didn't get really rappy. All of a sudden, all these fucking bands started rapping and wearing looking like they were I don't know what it was, MTV raps mixed with and I thought something about Fred Durst, and maybe I don't know, just drove me absolutely insane. He was just but hey, they made a shitload of money, and I would definitely take that paycheck any day.
Fuck, dude. I said, I'm at a point in my life where if I can go have a couple hours of fun and it costs me $20, I don't give a shit, dude.
I have to go to see Bryan Adams with my wife, man. I'm not looking forward to this at all. I made it because my
Bryan
wife
Adams is killer, but that's a close. When's
the last time he played a rock song though? That guy, like you're talking.
Bryan Adams.
Yeah, most of your
Cuts
shit's
like
all
a knife.
songs.
I don't know.
But that's the cutoff right there. That's where you're.
That's probably.
And I'm sure that's coming at the end. That's like the last song as you're leaving the venue. You know, you're gonna hear "Summer of '69"
straight from the heart or
like
something.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's pretty much you get. But yeah, so yeah, we all listen to different shit. I know because me and Ed, we've been to a bunch of different concerts. I'm definitely into a lot of the punk stuff. Even as a kid, like I said, Descendants, even Operation Ivy, Poison Idea. I go
even the old British wave of
Allen.
Heavy metal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those type of bands are.
I love having Raven on the show. I mean,
they were great, man.
Love Raven.
Iron Maiden, fucking all of those bands, man. Even growing up, I was a big Queensryche fan.
Yeah,
and even now, I think Todd, what's his name?
Todd, who's a St. Pete guy.
Yeah, he fucking dude. He's
killing.
I mean, you want to talk about a guy that if you close your eyes, you wouldn't know if it was fucking the other guy or not. I mean, Jeff Tate has an original voice, which is crazy how many people were, sprung off of, because, a lot of people don't realize that Sanctuary, the reason fucking Warrell Dane sang like that was because he was a huge Jeff Tate fan. Yeah. So, and they were from Seattle, where Queensryche was from. So hence how you got that shit. And Queensryche had some heavy songs, man. They're a heavy band. And,
Operation Mindcrime, that was huge when I was in high school. Like it was.
Well, even the last two Queensryches with I don't know why I'm having I know his last name and I'm fucking blanking on it because we're talking about so much shit. But
Todd's last name, yeah, I know. I know.
Todd. But anyway, he just fucking crushes, and he has such a good stage presence. And from my understanding, he's not a douchebag, and that helps, because everybody I've ever talked to that ran into Jeff Tate, had bad things to say about him. I couldn't tell you. I've never ran into him, but sucks because he was a legend, man. No doubt about it.
Definitely. We just got a message just now. And did Ed just say Limp Bizkit? What the fuck?
Yeah,
that really didn't come in.
But... I did. Listen, man.
But,
here's what's funny.
Hey, you got it's
a lot
what
of
you
people...
like is what you like, man. That's how it goes.
I didn't say I was buying records, bro. I just said,
Actually, Ed has the red cap on right now.
I do, dude. I got my fucking Adidas on, and my pants are at my fucking knees. And I'm not wearing underwear, by the way.
Yeah.
But the thing is if you can't go out and have fun, I mean, you're gonna go to Bryan Adams, dude. And I went to.
Dude, I'm gonna have
not
to
only did I
drink
go
a
to
lot
Willie
of beer
Nelson
that night.
Not only did I go to Willie Nelson, but my wife drugged me to some fucking bull riding thing, and there were country, like some chick, some heavy set chick. Fucking, my wife will punch me in the face for not remembering her name, but all she talked about was I came back from the bar. And I wrote this song. This man dumped me and I wrote this song. And it was like, so one night I was home drinking and I wrote this song. And I woke up one day after being drinking and I wrote this song. And I'm thinking, wow, we got something going on here. We got a little bit of you're writing songs when you're drinking and they all suck. So maybe you should fucking like not drink and see how.
That's country.
But she was getting big because she's out touring. But yeah, I was like, I'm here watching fucking this stuff. Now, the opening band were like a local band here that do covers. They were great. Like, if you like old country, this dude fucking was hitting every vocal guy. I was like, holy shit, how do you do that? Like,
and it's country concerts have a lot of beautiful women at them. That's one thing.
It was and then going to see fucking, like, they were like, yeah, we're going to see bull riding. And I'm like, have any of these guys ever, not one dude rode the bull. Like every one of them, but one dude got bucked. Not one of them made the time, the 7 seconds or 8 seconds or whatever the fuck it's called. And I'm like, did we get the like? Are these the shoehorn guys? The guys that like clip the balls with the rope? They tie the balls off. That's what pisses them off. And
fucking awful.
It was terrible, dude. And I'm like, after the concert, I remember them going, now come on back. We're finishing the bull riding. And I said, we're fucking out of here, man. I ain't watching no more of that jobber shit. I'm out. So for me to go see Limp Bizkit, I'd rather go see Limp Bizkit than watching a bunch of fucking that shit. So
I may choose the Bulls with the balls tied off. But so we got two more here. We got Sup TM. So I guess it's his initials. I don't know. Oh, Tampa Morgue. So I should probably pre-read this a little bit better. I listen each week, and I know Ed has been in several touring bands. Is there any do's or don'ts or codes of ethics, but this would be a good one, between the bands on a tour bus? RJ from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Will Ed dig himself a hole here?
No, I will tell you. This is from experience and from what I've also been told. Don't hang your dirty, disgusting leather fucking pants across the fucking back of the bus so people have to walk through your sweaty crotch, because you will wind up fucking beat. That I know for a fact. Don't eat somebody's food in the fucking refrigerator that's not yours, and don't drink their shit.
Well, I bet you that shit happens all the time.
Happens all the fucking time, dude. We write your name on it. I would put shit with skull and crossbones saying I will fucking, we thought about putting a shit sandwich in there and see if somebody grabbed it.
Slap your dick on all the sandwiches and just put it back and just
I don't want to do that in case I'm hungry, Hey, it's my own dick sandwich. Oh, it
you get
tastes good.
Stoned and forget.
No, I know why the chicks like this. Yeah, clean up after yourself, man. Don't be a fucking scumbag. That's it, man. Just don't act like don't get drunk and be a fucking asshole. Clean after yourself. Don't fucking, eat and drink what's yours unless somebody fucking says otherwise. And keep your shit clean, dude. Keep your bunk clean. Keep your fucking, your area clean. Because you got to remember, we were on that tour in Europe. We had, what did I say, 19 or 21 dudes on that bus?
Man, that bus had a stink.
I'll tell you what's crazy. So we were in the back of, it's a double decker. So we were in the back. There was a lounge, which was basically ours, and the dudes in Origin come and hung out. And the first 5 bunks were ours right there. And then you had the dudes in Origin and then the crew. And then the other bands were down towards the end and the other side, where the other end of the bus was like a whole room, like another lounge. And that's where the main guy had a closed door. He could fucking go in there, and he was by himself, didn't have to smell But dude, when that heat was on, because there were times where I would go, dude, I couldn't even sleep. It was so fucking hot. Dude, you get to so I would get up to go piss, and I got up to near the stairs, which was near the crew. And there were times I could have fucking puked because it was fucking just, dude, the sweat, that fucking smell. Because I will tell you,
wet, damp
shoes, like fucking just, yeah, it was. And there were a couple guys that pretty much slept like almost naked, and their shit would just be hanging all over the place. I mean, that's just the life of a crew and a band. Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of times we had to be like, dude, you guys got to fucking, something here, man. Because it was, but you just got to be clean, dude. Just be clean and don't fucking fuck with other people's stuff. Because there's, if you're in a band, you have a rider. Even the opening bands have some sort of a rider. And, if you ask for alcohol, don't drink it all. If you plan on drinking on the bus, you know what I mean? You got to take something with you. I can't think of anybody in the band really that drank. Lee don't drink. I don't drink. Mark, maybe a couple here and there. It wasn't anything. Justin, we had this guy, Kuba, who was Polish, and this motherfucker he would drink all day. I mean, all night, and would go to bed at dude, I don't even know how he did it.
And he was just part of the crew?
He was the main crew. He was the guitar tech. He was the guy that got everything set up.
Man,
and I will tell you what,
Striper party's harder than you guys.
Dude. No, they were all drinking. All the 2 opening bands were down there fucking getting hammered. He would be like, come, you sit. I'm like, dude, I'm not fucking drinking nothing because I won't remember.
Yeah,
and I'll have a sore asshole the next day. I'm not doing it.
Ed is not a big drinker.
So I remember, like, I wake up,
heroin.
And this dude, we're stopping the bus, and he's like, okay, we're at the venue. The main guy comes out, and here's Cuba. He didn't go to bed till like 6 a.m, and it's like 10. And here he is, rolling out of bed, putting his pants on, and he's ready to go to fucking work. I'm just like, I can't do that. And that was night after night after night after night. I mean, there would be times I go down to piss, and it's 4 a.m, and the bus is rocking, and he's fucking in the bench. And I look over, and he's fucking passed out drunk. Like, he's out. So these guys party. So, know your limitations, man, because
they say that's when you pretty much learn who your bandmates are going to be the next year, because when you go on tour with people, you kind of see what they're really like. And we've even dealt with that. We played a festival in Tampa that we played with that we always talk about, the Sun and what was it? Not the Sun and Steel Festival.
Yeah. And our young buck there got fucking destroyed.
The Tampa Metal Fest.
Yeah, he got fucking
Deicide and all them.
Fucking
obituary.
The parking garage was not his friend.
He ran face first into the wall. That was our first time seeing him at Tasia. He was fucked up.
Well, we've seen a couple guys that fucking got that intoxicated, bro. I mean,
I remember Joe, when we were doing the Taste of Death record. So sorry, Joe, I'll have to call you out on this. I remember Joe couldn't even he was so fucking wasted. It was awful. Like, we have videos of him just climbing around the bathroom.
Oh, well, how about our guitar player playing live and fucking almost knocking the whole drum kit down? So we've had some fun. We've had some fun.
That was at the Foo Bar, right?
That was at the Foo Bar
in St. Petersburg. So right over.
It was some guy.
Some guy. Niche. But so I have one more question here. This is, and thanks, what was it? RJ from Washington for that one. This is Byron from Pittsburgh. Love the show. Kills a lot of time working the graveyard shift. Makes sense, I guess, that we would fill that time period. Do you ever consider guest suggestions or topics? Keep it sick, Byron. Yeah, man, you can always send us guest suggestions. We actually book everyone ourselves pretty much for about 90%, kind of like reach out and get these guys or on the show, whoever comes on. Kind of just who we kind of just choose who we want to come on, man. And we don't really have a method, but you can always send guest suggestions.
Sure. Or suggestions of topics, we do our own shows, and if you got a topic,
very rarely, but we do.
We do them more than people give us credit for. We've been booking a lot of guests. When you do 3 guests in a week, even though, me and you are rich and, we fucking drive around in Lamborghinis and fucking, we fucking light our fucking stogies with $100 bills. I mean, it's sometimes doing a show, I'll be honest with you. And I told you how it was going to be 20 years ago.
I got 2 little kids.
Having kids changes fucking everything, man.
Well, and I noticed too, which I was telling you about this morning, like, I do have to find time to, me and you have music projects we do too, which I have to find time to record some of that stuff and do that. So it's with 2 kids and a wife, and a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, basically at the ages of my daughters. It's very busy, and so I like when me and Ed could just do shows, but sometimes it's hard. Like, if we have, like Ed was saying, 3 guests in 1 week, it's just hard to do because
which doesn't happen that often. I mean,
no.
That was just a.
We try to keep it once a week if we can.
Yeah, but when it's hey, we can come on, but it can only be around this time. It's either feast or famine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, when we do our shows, we want to have really
time to hang out too.
Well, not just hang out, but we want to have substance. We don't want to just come on here and say, the weather's great. I had pizza last night. Oh, I had a pizza and beer, and I, had to take a massive dump. I mean, nobody cares. We want to have new records coming out, a tour that's coming through. We've talked about something. We've talked with somebody. You know what I mean? Something of substance, because otherwise, imagine just Joe Rogan not having guests and just talking to Jamie. It would be like
tonight, dude. We did this today after we had Pooch on, because we did want to kind of
touch base,
some kind of touch base, because when we do start the show, sometimes we start, we have the guys sitting there, so we just want to get to the interview and stuff like that. So tonight we figured, hey, let's we'll stay on for a little while and just catch up on the show, because there's we've had, like you said, we had the Blood Serpent guys, we had Brodequin, we had Hooded Menace, we had members from those bands come on recently. And we have Ryan Waste coming up, and then we had tonight's episode. So we've been busy, so that's why we haven't done that. But also, suggestions are always welcome.
There is a 7-hour or 6-hour time difference between the two of us. So it has to work kind of for you, because you have the when you're out there, because you do it in your garage, if people could see, they would see the massive fucking horror thing, rock thing you got going on.
Decor, it's like a.
But if they escape the asylum, i.e., your wife, they could run in, and
it's happened before,
and it has happened, Daddy Caca.
Yeah.
So
it happens in real life. It's
and
as real as it gets.
But we don't cut that shit out, dude, because it's real. I mean,
no.
My daughter graduates in a couple weeks. That's it. I'm done. Like,
oh yeah, that's actually something I did want to ask you, Ed. Now, someone was asking, actually, Buddy Wilt from he's a Jersey guy too originally. You guys with Monstrosity, any chance? What shows do you guys? So you guys have nothing in Philadelphia coming up? Because he was asking me if anything in those areas. I said I think just California, and I didn't know if
Texas.
In Texas, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Texas is August. It is August, and then October is California, and I don't think there's anything in between.
So and if there is something in between, we'll bring it up on the show, definitely, or share the flyers on the Instagram page and stuff.
Yeah, as soon as we know something about shows or anything that comes up, man, we always announce it right here.
Yeah, we always try to, we know. And like I said, we always appreciate everybody who listens. And if you ever can, I guess this is a thing, so I keep on hearing this, maybe subscribe to our YouTube channel, or give us whatever they say, 5 stars, wherever you listen to us at. If you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or I don't know what else.
It helps.
There's a bunch.
Not only does it help, it helps get it to the top so other people can see it, man, because, we're not making, listen, man, we're paying to do
we're
the
spending
show.
for this. Yeah,
and I ain't even, and the sad truth is, years ago, I'd have been like, fuck, bro, I don't want to fucking pay for this. Now this is just something I enjoy doing. Like 41 episodes in, 41 episodes. I mean, I'm I was watching fucking Vincent Crowley's, what was it? What does he call it?
He's got his channel
Q&A, Q&A or whatever he does, and he said, because I guess he just stopped doing that. That was his last one that I just watched, because he's doing something else with the channel. And, but he was already up to like 20 something. And I'm like, holy shit, because I remember when he first started, after we talked to him, he had just started doing it, and it just flies. You don't realize. And I look back when you said episode 14 for Art the Clown. I'm like, holy shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Do 14 and we're on 41. That was like, it seems like so long ago. It's crazy.
It goes. It'll be 50 before you know it,
Yep. Yeah, that's what they said. You'll be 50 before you know it. Yeah, well, awesome.
Think about that.
Awesome. Exactly. Awesome. Already there. I got the T-shirt.
Got everything.
Fucking got everything else.
It's coming for me in a couple of years. I'm not looking forward to it at all, but it happens, and like we say, we're going to keep on going, and we appreciate everybody who listens to us. And we want to thank Mike Pucciarelli, obviously, for being on tonight's show, talking about Raped Ape with us, and the tattoo parlor and all that stuff.
Got the 12th.
We got the 12th with Ryan Waste from Bat, Municipal Waste, Vulture.
And who knows? We might get one in between.
Yeah,
we talked about it. We'll see if we can make it happen. We'll get you one in between.
Yeah, and we appreciate everybody. Like I said, you stay on, listen to us this long. Hey, we totally, couldn't do it without you. So, thanks everybody. And Ed, we're going to see everybody again. Definitely on the 12th, maybe before that.
Yep. thetampamorgue@gmail.com, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, YouTube, and Instagram. Keep sending those questions and concerns. And
sorry for the delay, everyone, on those. But we appreciate it, man. And talk to you all soon. Thanks for listening to the Tampa Morgue. Anything, Ed, you want to say on the way out?
No, sir. We'll see you soon.
Peace.
See ya.